We're approaching the first dinner, at least that's what I'm hoping for. And I want to see, because that seems like that'll be the first place people start making new moves, rather than simply preparing to do stuff. I want to see what Rosa does at the start of dinner, and I'm curious if Kraus, since Kraus seems to be knocking here. I mean, the only thing we've seen from this scene is the person knocking was Kraus. I wonder if he's going to mention that Beatrice is here. I don't know how well informed he is, but we'll find out. Devin. Father. Today is our annual family conference. Okay. Haven't the siblings gathered here just to get a glimpse of you? Probably. He's silent. This man has no patience for fools or for his son. I say I won't leave. You're there too, Genji. Why haven't you had my food brought here as I ordered you to? Kinzo screamed across the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus-sama. This is not the door. That's weird. I would like to note that the door has been specifically noted to have the scorpion emblems, and that door handle does not have the scorpion emblems because that is the door handle that was used when Natsuhi's room was marked. That's the door. Your meal has been prepared, so it might be carried to the study. However, Kraus has expressed his wish you eat downstairs tonight. Father, I'm not asking you to do this every day. Just for this one night, won't you gather together with your family? Who are you calling family? The audio seems quiet. We can tweak the audio a teeny tiny bit on you guys' end. That sounds good. How's that? Better? Well, it should be a little bit louder. Since when have you considered vultures circling in wait for roadkill to be family? Would you call rotting, oozing maggots family as well? Probably not. My. Kraus shrugged at this answer, which he had half expected. Genji, carry the meal here as you were told. Why don't you listen to what I say? Why? Why? Genji-san. I leave this in your capable hands. My voice will no longer reach that man. Kraus gave his head a small shake and then quickly turned his back on the door to the study. He'd only come calling to save face in front of his siblings, knowing full well how useless this was. After Genji watched Kraus disappear down the stairs, he called again across the door. That is the wrong door, Master. We finished preparations for your meal to be carried here. Shall we bring some for Nanjo as well? Nanjo could be seen in the study. Because Kinzo had forcefully pestered him into finishing their long-lasting chess game, they'd been playing against each other since early evening. Nanjo had announced as a doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered, so he couldn't refuse if Kinzo demanded they finish this game while he still lived. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his move, concentrating more than usual. It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had randomly pulled out a book on magic he couldn't understand and was skimming it. Kinzo-san. You won't think of a good move simply by folding your arms and sitting in front of the board. Perhaps we'd best take a break and refresh our minds. Silence. That should be enough to solidify my defenses. Will the bishop and knight be able to penetrate that open? Back at this state. Of course, it's the same game. It's just a different timeline. Today, Kinzo was focused on maintaining a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's motto was that offense was the best defense. However, today was completely the opposite. I'm also hungry. Shall we suspend the game here? Use my head without a break so much. I'm already feeling dizzy. At this rate, I may not be able to perform at my best. Yeah, it does sound a bit quiet. I'm gonna go to the settings. Wait, where? Oh, here we go. Seems about the same. I'll turn the voices up a teeny tiny bit. They seem a little bit low. No, that won't do. In chess, both players must always make their best moves. Okay, that's a reasonable way to think about it. Any other sort of move is merely a nuisance to consider ruining a game whose focus is predicting your opponent's thoughts. Such a thing considerably reduces our enjoyment. It might. Kinzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze away from the board. Chess isn't chess without an opponent. If the opponent's tired and wants to suspend the game, there's no getting around it. I mean, they could just forfeit. True, the goal of chess is for both players to make the best possible moves and aim for victory. An intellectual game while reading your opponent is key. But Kinzo, have you forgotten there's another goal besides victory? What? I like how the water stops the second he says that. What other goal could there possibly be? Well, you see. I think you of all people would forget something like that. Chess is a way to pass time while having fun with a friend. Well, that's very nice of you. You got me there. I believe I once said those exact words to you long ago. You got me there. Kinzo, who almost always wore a frown, relaxed his face for once and laughed. Nanjo felt like he'd been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in ages. That's how it is. And now that I've managed to take a shot back at you, what do you say? You want to go down with me and have dinner? Then we discuss Kasparov's middle game along with some coffee. An appealing proposition, but I'm afraid I must decline. I can no longer leave this room. After all, the ceremony has already begun. That's so. Oh, is that so? My stomach is growling. I'll go downstairs. Anytime you feel it. Nanjo. Thanks. Number 4. I mean, he's being the 18th person in the roulette. Thank you so much for offering to be a sacrifice so that someone else can get to the Golden Land. We didn't finish our match. It seems I've somehow achieved that second goal of chess which I had forgotten. And it appears that goal is no less important than achieving checkmate. Well, that's not like you. Why so sentimental? It might be his last night on Earth. You said it yourself, didn't you? My days in the world are numbered. I'll go.
そしてもうこの部屋へ来るな。
And don't come to this room again.
続きは黄金鏡であろう。
Let's continue this match in the Golden Land.
いいですが、仕切り直しですぞ。
Fine with me. We'll have to start over
ル
though.
ークが落ちてしまったのは痛手ですのでな。
Losing that rook was a serious blow.
それでは、
Well,
後ほど。
I'll see you later.
ああ、後ほどな。
Yes, later.
黄金鏡か、煉獄か。
Maybe in the Golden Land, maybe in
あるい
Purgatory,
は次の世で。
possibly in the next world. Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with a motion made smooth by familiarity, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto-lock. And after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. As he did, Genji's voice came from the
それ
hall.
では親方様、
If you're ready,
これよ
master,
り夕食をお運びい
I
た
will
し
now
ます。
carry in your dinner.
最後の晩餐になるやもしれん。
It may be my final dinner.
味わわねばな。
I must savor it.
準備を頼む。
Please prepare it
かしこまりました。
as you wish.
親方様のご準備の方は万端となりましたか。
Preparations complete as well, master?
こ
Indeed.
の部屋を今日まで問え旗への結界で厳重に包んだ。
In the time leading up to this day, this room's been carefully wrapped in a multitude of
あれ
barriers.
のルーレットが私を選ぼうとも必ずや弾き返す。
Even if her roulette chooses me, I'll definitely
そ
repel
して
it.
生き残り黄金鏡へたどり着くうちの一人は絶対に
I'll remain
私と
alive.
なる。
I'll surely become one of those who reach the Golden Land.
私を冥府へ連れ去ろうとする死神どもの来訪をも拒
I'll
もう
repulse the
ぞ。
visit of the Reapers trying to drag me off to the Golden Land. Or the Land of the Dead, sorry. He wants to go to the Golden Land, see? And
失礼し
Shannon.
ます。
Hello.
お食事の準備に参りま
Shannon's
した。
coming to see. Excuse me, I've come to serve your meal. Yeah, hello, Beatrice. Shannon entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, gazing out into the supposedly empty darkness, was definitely that witch.
今度はシャノンか。
Oh, so it's Shannon this
懐
time.
かしいな。
How long's it been?
お
Oh,
お、顔色がだいぶ良くなったではないか。
your face isn't nearly as pale as
カ
it
ノ
once
ンとは
was.
違うな。
I can see her now,
見
Canon.
違えたぞ。
Hardly recognize you.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There were actually several things she wanted to ask the witch, but they were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up and she didn't even understand her own emotions, so she could only do her job dispassionately with everything still vague. However, the witch saw what was in her heart. You can't hide anything from a witch.
謝らぬぞ。
I won't
わら
apologize.
わは魔女だからな。
I'm a witch after all.
何がでしょう。
Apologize for what?
ほうや。
Oh, come on now.
カノンから聞かされたであろう。
Canon must have told you
そな
that.
たの恋路を助けたのはわらわの単なるいたずら心。
I only rescued your love life because of my mischievous
い
spirit.
かにしてこじれ、ねじれ、破綻するかを干渉するためにまいた種に過ぎぬ。
It was nothing more than a seed I sowed so I could watch your love grow complicated, become twisted, and fall.
恋はするより聞く方が楽しい方もおられるでしょう。
Alright, let's hear Shannon's response. She seems very chill. I imagine some people think it's more fun to hear about love than to have it.
まさかわらわに感謝しようというのではあるまいな。
You couldn't possibly be trying to thank me, right?
はい。
I
あ
am.
なたが私にどんな下心があって恋の魔法を授けたとしても、
No matter what kind of ulterior motive you may have had, when you gave me the magic of
あな
love,
たが私に与えてくれたものは変わらない。
it doesn't change the fact I received it from you. That's a true statement. She's like, well, you might have had a shitty motive and planned to kill me later anyway, but if I was gonna die, well, it's better to have died with a full life than an empty life.
だから添い遂げられないと知りつつまいた種であったとしても、
So, even if you sow that seed knowing the two of us wouldn't be able to stay together for life,
私は恨んだりしません。
I hold no grudge against you.
ふん。やはり家具というのは面白みのない。
Seems furniture is dull after all.
それを面白く調理するのがわらわの腕の見せ
This
所
is
よ
where I
の
show my skill by cooking into something interesting. Okay.
私にベアトリーチェ様のお考えはわかりません。
I don't understand what you're thinking, Beatrice.
あなたは私たちなど足元にも及ばない大魔女で、
That's right. She's a great witch, and people like us don't even reach your
その
feet.
遠大な資料など想像するにも至りません。
Nor can we even imagine your grand
でも
thoughts.
一つだけ言えることがある。
But there is one thing I can say.
なんだ
What's that?
私に人間を教えてくれてありがとう。
Thank you for teaching me to
あ
be
なたが
human.
言った。
You said it
私
yourself.
はもう家具じゃない。
I'm no longer furniture.
黙れ家具
Quiet,
真
furniture.
の人間ならば婚約指輪を受け取ろうという日に告げられた死の宣告に嘆き狂いて踊り出すだろう。
You are a true human. Hearing the announcement of your death on the day you were to receive an engagement ring should have you dancing around mad with grief.
なのにそなたはなんだ達観し全てを受け入れたような顔つきではないか。
Your face looks enlightened as though you've accepted everything.
実に拍子抜けだぞ。
Truly an anticlimax, furniture. That awkward moment when things aren't going Beatrice's way. She doesn't look
いいえ
happy.
私は家具じゃない。
I'm not furniture.
黙れ家具
Quiet, furniture.
黙りません。
I won't be
家
quiet.
具ではありませんから。
I'm not furniture.
わらわの命令が聞けぬというか。
Are you saying you won't obey my orders?
家具なら命令に従います。
Furniture
で
obeys
も
orders.
人間は命令に従うかどうかを自分で決めます。
But a human decides for themselves whether to obey orders or not.
だから私はあなたの命令に従わない。
So I won't obey your orders.
前言を撤回す
I
る。
take back what I said.
やはり面
You
白い
really
ぞ。
are interesting.
種をまかねばそなたは何の感情も抱かず儀式に身を任せただろう。
If I hadn't sowed those seeds, you probably would have allowed the ceremony to control your fate without clinging to any
しか
emotions.
し今のそなたは実に面白く育ちわらわを心底楽しませてくれるぞ。
Now you've grown to become something truly interesting, something that will entertain me to no end.
それでいい。
That's well.
わらわは退屈を愛
I'm
さ
not
ないの
fond
だ
of
から。
boredom. Well, I'm glad we could entertain you, Beatrice. Let's keep going.
お夕食の準備が整いました。
Dinner is
どう
ready.
ぞ。
Here you go.
うんなかなかうまそうではないか。
Doesn't this look delicious?
ゴーダが黄金鏡へたどり着くことがあればわらわの料理長に任命してやってもよかろう。
If Goda makes us the Golden Land, perhaps I'll commission him as my chief cook.
カノン君に聞きました。
Nap time because you haven't been getting enough sleep? That's respectable, dude. Take that nap. I heard from Canon
私
Kun.
にジョージさんの婚約を断らせれば私を生贄にしない
I'd
なん
go,
て約
I'd go
束
for
を
the
したと
sleep.
か。
It's pretty important. If I something about how if I reject George's proposal, you promise not to make me a sacrifice?
うんし
Indeed.
たぞ。
I said as
そ
much.
なたは第二の番にうってつけの生贄候補だったのだがな。
You would make an ideal potential sacrifice for the second
カノ
one.
ンがそれを許せと泣いて叫ぶので寛大に聞き入れてやったのよ。
But because Canon cried, screamed, and asked that I spare you, I graciously listened to his
そ
words,
なたが婚約を破棄すればとの条件付きでな。
with the condition you abandon your engagement, of course.
わらわのなんと寛大なこ
See
と
how
よ。
gracious I am?
なんてバカな条件。
What a foolish
そ
offer.
してなんてバカな脅迫。
And what a foolish threat.
そんなものでカノン君をいじめ抜いたというの。
So, you used that to thoroughly bully Canon-kun, did you?
ほう。
Oh, so you comprehend. Apparently Shannon had seen through it. She'd apparently guessed at how the witch had bullied and humiliated Canon with that horrible promise as bait.
絨毯に這いつくばらせ、わらわの靴にキスをさせてやったぞ。
I made him crawl on the carpet and kiss my shoes.
それだけではない。
That's not all.
他にどのような恥ずかしめを与えたか。
Do you want to hear the other ways in which I
聞きたい
humiliated
か
him? Shannon silently shook her head.
あなたという人を私はようやく理解しました。あなたは人をいじめ、惑わせ、困らせて、それを楽しみ、糧にしている。
You like to bully, confuse, and trouble people, and you do it to entertain yourself.
だからあなたに抵抗する唯一の方法がこれであると確信した。
So I now know for sure the one single way I can resist you.
なんだ。
And what might that be?
あなたなんか知らない。
I don't care about
私
you.
は私に与えられた運命を全うする。
Simply carry out the fate that's been given to me, that's
だ
all.
からあなたを面白がらせたりしない。
I'm not here to entertain you.
あなたなんか
I don't care about you.
知らない。
The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. Not a bad plan, honestly, Shannon. Better than Canon's, fuck you, I'm mad at you. You know, that doesn't really work. But this might at least irritate her. It disappeared immediately, but the expression that briefly rose to her face was rare for the witch, whose malicious smile usually never faded for a second.
そういう抗い方もあるか。
I see, so you might resist me in that way.
面白い。
How
気に
interesting.
入った。
How truly
殺
entertaining.
してやる。
I'll
お
kill
前
you.
の思い人と一緒にな。
You and your lover both?
それがあなたが決められた運命ならばご随意に。
If that's the fate you've decided, do as you will.
私はそれに怯えたり逆らったりしません。
I'm not afraid, and I won't stand
これ
against
から
you.
起こる苛烈な運命があなたの意志によるものだなんて信じないから。
After all, I don't believe the cruel fate that's coming is something controlled by your will.
私たち人間は未来に起こりうる運命など知らない。
We humans know nothing about the fates that might come to pass in the future.
だからこそ
And that's why I'll
最
live
後
to the
の瞬
fullest
間まで
until the
自
last
分の
instant.
信念と運命に従い精一杯生き抜く。
Following my convictions and the fate set
運
before
命
me.
はた
Alright,
だのサイ
Shannon.
コロの目。
Fate is just a roll of the
そこに
dice. There's no malice
あ
in
な
it.
たが吹き込もうと信じない。
Even if you claim there is. I won't believe it.
ほう、家具をやめたくせに死を恐れぬとはな。
Although you've quit being furniture, you have no fear of death.
それがわらわを退屈させると思っているようだが、それは大きな誤解だぞ。
Seems you believe this will bore me, but you couldn't be more wrong. Of course, someone who was actually bored by this would say that. Because otherwise they'd be bored.
そなたが本当に最後の瞬間までそれを貫けるか、ますま
The
す
thought
興
of
味
seeing
が
whether
湧
you
い
can hold on to
た。
that view until the last moment merely serves to intrigue me more and more. I guess we're having some fun, Beatrice.
私は悔しい。
I
ど
can't
うしてあ
stand
な
this.
たは人の姿をして私たちの前に現れ人の言葉で語り
Why have you
私た
taken
ち
the
を
form of
嘲
a
笑うの
human?
か。
Why did you appear in front of us, speak with human words, and ridicule us?
私たちの前に現れず運命を予告しなかったなら
If you hadn't appeared in front of us, if you hadn't predicted the future,
私たちは最後の一瞬まで精一杯生きられ
we
る
would
の
have
に。
all been able to live life to the fullest until the last moment.
それが魔女というものよ。
That's just what witches do.
貴様らの運命を食い物に、工事の存在として定時の存在の上に君臨す
I
る。
live off your fates, reigning as a higher order of being does over low
そ
order
なたら
beings.
の運命など、所
Your
詮
fates
は
are little more
か
than
けら。
fragments.
両手で碗を作ればいくらでも救える。
If I cut my hands together, I could skip out as many of those as I want.
わらわに飼われた肉牛どもが何をほざこうとも、わらわの食卓を楽しませる結果に変わりはせぬのに同
I
じこ
see.
と
It's。just like how no matter what the beef cows I raise might babble, it doesn't change the fact that I'll be having them for dinner. Unless they escape.
無力な私たちにはあなたの儀式にも運命にも抗うことなどできない。
We're powerless, so we can't fight against your ceremony or
しかし
fate.
あなたに
But I can make you
今すぐ
unhappy
不
right
愉快な
now.
思いをさせることはできる。
ほう、それは何か。
And how are you planning to accomplish this?
今すぐここを立ち去ることです。
By walking away from this place
あな
right
た
now.
の言葉に答えることは、すべてあなたを楽しませている。
No matter how I respond to your words, it will only
あなた
amuse
の
you.
問いかけに
Refusing to
答え
respond
な
to
い
your
こと
questions is
が
my only method of
あなた
resisting
へ
you.
唯一できる抵抗です。
なるほどなるほど。一矢報いることはできよ
You
う。
might be able to take a short shot at me.
しかし
You
わ
can't
らわを
defeat me
倒
yet.
すことはできぬぞ。わらわは誰しもを永遠に殺す力を持ってい
I
る。
mean, I have the power to kill anyone for eternity.
永遠に繰り返し殺される輪廻の中で、そなたがいつまでその抵抗をできるのか。
I can't wait to see
実に
whether you
楽し
can
み
keep
だ。
up that resistance in an endlessly repeating cycle of death and rebirth.
忘れるなよ。
Don't forget it,
自
okay?
らが口にした言葉。
You spoke those words yourself. Alright.
それでは失礼いたします。
Now, if you'll excuse
ご
me,
用がありましたらお呼びください。
if you need anything, please call me. Shannon gave a reserved bow and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she really did take a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice had said. Because when the witch called out again, she sounded a little more quick-tempered than she had before.
カノンはわらわに感謝したぞ。
Canon thanks
そ
me.
なたは感謝せぬのか。
Can't you?
安息の日をわらわが与えることを。
Can't you thank me for bringing you your day of rest?
家具なら安息の日を喜びましょう。
Furniture may be happy when their day of rest
で
comes.
すが、私は人間ですので、だからあなたに感謝することはありません。
I have nothing to thank
ご
you
用
for.
はそれだけですか？
Is that all you have to say?
ジョージから指輪をもらうつもりであろう。
You plan to accept George's
受け
ring,
取れ
yes?
ば、わらわがカノンと交わしたそなたを生贄に選ばないという約束を破棄すること。
Don't forget if you
忘れ
do.
るな。
I'll abandon the promise I made with Canon, and the promise that you would not be selected as a sacrifice.
まだご用があるなら他のものを来させますので、
If you need anything else, I'll have someone else come.
それでは失礼いたします。
If you'll excuse me. A flat-out interruption. Shannon still hadn't answered her. The sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. Shannon's resistance probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself thought, because an expression of hatred once again rose to Beatrice's face. She'd made Cannon submit even though he hadn't been ensnared until the end, whereas Shannon, who'd been so easily ensnared before, refused to submit this time. I see.
やはりこれは面白いことではないか。
But this state of affairs is amusing after all.
わらわもまだまだ若いか。
Perhaps I really am
こ
still
れ
young.
だから千年は生き飽きぬのよ。
That's why I haven't tired of life after 1,000 years. Well, do as you will. Oh, this is the most fabulous part of the family conference. Dinner. In the past, when Kinzo had been serious about the conference, he'd taken everyone's yearly gatherings for dinner very seriously, because anything embarrassing that occurred during the dinner would cause the deepest shame for him as the host. He'd given Natsuhi stern orders to avoid embarrassments at all costs, and because of that, she and Kroos eventually hired Goda, who had confidence in his cooking abilities. Thanks to that, they were able to serve wonderful dinners they could be confident in, but by that time, Kinzo had closed himself up in his study and never appeared for dinner. Maybe you could call it ironic. When the main dish for tonight, half steak, was set out, Goda began to describe it proudly, further stimulating everyone's appetites.
こちらソースはボルドレーズとなっております。
The sauce here is Bordelaise.
ベースの赤ワインはもちろんボルドー産の中でも素晴らしいものを使用しておりますが、
Of course.
その他にも当家オリジナルブレンド
Alright,
と
he's
しまし
doing
て
great. Hey, how's it going, my dude? The sauce here is Bordelaise, of course. The red wine base I used was excellent even among those made in Bordeaux, but in addition I prepared an original blend of this house.
世界各地数種類の名酒をブレンドしましてより深い味わいとなりますよ
A
う
blend of
整え
choice
てござい
alcohol
ます。
from around the world to further deepen the taste. Are you sure that doesn't make it
この
cheaper?
ソースは 本年限りのものでございます。
This sauce is limited to this year.
どうかお楽しみいただければ幸
I
いです。
sincerely hope you all enjoy the meal. This time he explained it instead of having Shannon explain it, so there's less fuck-ups. That's cool.
うん
Kind of funny.
素晴らしいじゃない
Beatrice showed up and the dinner was less awkward. Isn't that
し
wonderful?
かしボルドレーズソースはフランス料理の王道ではないのかね。
Isn't Bordelaise sauce common to French
それ
cooking?
にフランス以外の酒を使うのは少し邪道ではないかという気もするね。
Almost seems like using alcohol from outside France with that is heresy.
旦那様、本日は年に一度の親族会議でございます。
Today's the annual
普
family
段は遠方
conference.
にお住まいの皆様がはるばるお越しになり、一堂に集われた夜の晩餐には
As a dinner for those who normally live far away and who have traveled far from across the world to gather
世
together.
界各地より普段は出会うことのない名酒を取り寄せブレンドしたソースが何よりもふさわしいかと存じ、
See, I realized it would be most fitting to have a sauce made from a blend of fine alcohols from all over the planet that have never met each other
特
before.
別にご用意させていただいたのでございま
So
す。
I had it specially prepared.
素晴らしい
Wonderful.
本当に素晴らしい料理人やあんたは
Truly a wonderful cook. He ran out of Bordeaux wine and used 5 other wines, but is covering for it by saying it's representing their union from a disparate region of
能
the
楽が
world.
変わると料理も薬も効果は2倍になるっちゅうわけやな
Food and medicine work twice as well if you sell it right. See? See?
元の料理のうまさも2倍さらに能楽で2倍
It's already twice as delicious as normal food, and the advertising makes it twice as
味
good as
の
that.
売買ゲームや
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe. Like, we don't actually know. It's probably, they seem to have enough money. It's not like they ran out, but it's kind of funny. It's like, you could totally say that's what happened. It would be a believable statement to say that he ran out of that kind of wine and just mixed with whatever seemed like it worked and then made an excuse for it. Hideyoshi fell for it, yeah. The taste keeps doubling and doubling. Oh boy, he loves doubling. He's at 4x the value of normal food.
いやね、
Come on,
兄さん。その質問、読まれてたんじゃないの？
Question of yours was obviously a plant.
違いねえな。
No
まんま
doubt.
と美味しいところをゴーダさんに持ってかれちまった
You
ぜ。
totally set Goda-san up to steal the show on that one.
そうかね。
You think
今日
so?
の料理をフランス風だと気づいていない者もいるんじゃないかと思っ
I
た
thought there might be some people who didn't notice today's food was in the French style.
エヴァは先ほどバターを使わないのが美徳と言ったが、それはスペイン風だ。
After all, Eva just said that avoiding butter was a virtue, but that's the Spanish style.
確かに国境を接してはいるがね。
Well, I suppose they do share a border.
そういう意味で言ったんじゃないわよ。話の一部分だけ抜き出して勝手に加工しないでくれるかしら。
Please don't take a part of the conversation out of context and make stuff up.
とっても美味しいソースね。
It's a very delicious
ゴ
sauce.
ーダさんは本当に素晴らしいわ。
Goda, you certainly are amazing.
お褒めに預かり大変光栄です。
It's a great honor to receive
こ
your
れもす
praise.
べて奥様の日頃のご指導のおかげでございます。
And this is all thanks to Madam's habitual guidance.
いえ、すべてゴーダのアイディアです。
All Goda's idea.
私はレシピを聞き、承認しただけです。
I only listened to the recipe and approved of it. Yeah, all this verbal sparring. They're not sparring too much with Goda, though. They kind of ignore him and are just like, yeah, okay. It looked like the siblings quickly got into a loud argument about the sauce, but for the most part dinner proceeded peacefully. However, a certain question they desperately wanted to ask burned inside each of them. It was about the visitor, the 19th person, the Golden Witch. In actuality, Ava and Rudolph and the rest were very much on their guards during the meal. If the mystery guest was ever going to be introduced, this dinner table would be the most appropriate place to do it. Who would talk to a block of cheese? Who cares about Goda? Or Gouda? Who knows? Who does care about Gouda? I imagine Nobu does. However, no place was set up at the dinner table for the witch. The family conference would begin in earnest after the meal, and the previous experiences told them it might last until deep into the night. However, they couldn't imagine why such a person should be kept hidden until that late, if they were going to be introduced in the end anyway. So, Ava and Rudolph and the rest were starting to feel a certain suspicion. Perhaps the guest was unknown even to Kraus. If this wasn't an assassin called by Kraus to give him an advantage in the inheritance problem, then maybe they should speak frankly to Kraus beforehand, creating a common front to resist anything disadvantageous to the four siblings. If she was Kinzo's assassin, whose purpose was to keep the inheritance from being handed over to the four siblings, the enmity between Kraus and the others could only become a weak point that benefited the enemy.
それではごゆっくりお楽しみください。
Well then, please enjoy at your leisure. When he finished explaining the reasoning behind the table setting and the cooking, Goda tried to leave the room, but Kirie called him to stop in a small voice.
はい、キリエ様。
Yes, Kirie-san.
何か。
What is it?
ごめんなさい。
Excuse me.
今日はお客様がいらっしゃってると思ったんだけど、晩餐にはお見えにならないのかしら。
I was under the impression we had company today. Can we expect to be joined at the dinner table? She planned on saying it nonchalantly, but unfortunately it reached the ears of Natsuhi, who was sitting in the next seat over. It seemed Natsuhi had heard it as, even though the guests are here, why hasn't the host come to dinner? In other words, that Kirie asked whether Kinzo was going to join them for dinner.
当主様は体調が優れられませんので、お部屋で食事をとると仰せです。
The family head's not at his best. He said he would take dinner in his
主
study.
人が初めにそう説明いたしました
I
が、
believe my husband
何か
explained that in the beginning?
ごめんなさい。
Sorry,
そうじゃないの。
that's not what I meant. Natsuhi's reaction instantly told Kirie that this unknown visitor was also an unknown to Kraus and his wife. Which meant, on the chessboard inside Kirie's mind, she could hear the clattering of the pieces as they rearranged themselves.
客?
What do you mean we have company? Or it sounds more like company? It was one word, right? Battler, who'd been sitting next to Natsuhi, seemed to have heard Kirie's words without misunderstanding them. Thinking it strange that someone would be invited to today's family conference, he spoke up incredulously. Ah yes, Wisconsin. The island state. Situated squarely in the middle of Central America, or Central North America. Did I know that I could buy ladybugs on Amazon for 3,000 ladybugs on Amazon for $12? Yeah, you can buy bugs you can order bugs in the mail. You can also order like queen bees and stuff if you want to start a beehive. Kind of cool, isn't it, right? So, thinking it strange that someone else would be invited to today's family conference, he spoke up incredulously, and thanks to that, the uncomfortable feeling building in the siblings' chests suddenly exploded. Everyone looked at Goda at the same time, and judging by the reactions, it was clear no one here invited the mystery woman. For an instant, Goda was startled to find everyone's gazes gathered on him, but because of his naturally vain personality, this actually gave him a feeling of superiority. Therefore, he answered in an extremely calm and graceful manner.
はい。
That's correct.
貴賓室でお一人で食事を取られたいとのことで、そちらへお運びしております。
Our guest wanted to eat alone in the VIP room and is being served there. The extremely graceful and reasonable response of Goda's made it obvious to everyone that a 19th person, a visitor, existed.
貴賓室？客？
VIP room? A guest?
何の？誰の話ですか？
Who are you talking about? Natsuhi's words echoed the question that everyone who didn't know about the appearance of the Golden Witch was thinking. For a while, Goda was disoriented, caught completely off guard by this sudden interrogation. This was a guest who had been treated with such deep respect. He hadn't imagined that Kraus and his wife might not even know about her.
そのベアトリーチェ様でございます。
The guest is, Beatrice-sama.
ベアトリーチェほらほら
See?
ベアトリーチェ来てるでしょ
Beatrice came. Maria had been telling the other cousins over and over that she met Beatrice that day. Or Beatrice. The cousins had answered flippantly, but they hadn't believed, so their eyes grew wide.
すまねえ。
Sorry.
俺はてっきりマリアの冗談だと思ってたぜ。
I thought you were joking, Mario.
本当にいたんだな。
Really was there?
ベアトリーチェってあの黄金のベアトリーチェなのかよ。
By Beatrice? You mean the Beatrice with the gold?
マリアはいるってずっと言ってる
I've been saying she exists the whole
誰も
time.
信じてない
Nobody believes. Life's
ごめん
hard
ね
for Maria.
マリアちゃん
Sorry, Maria
そうい
Chan.
うつもりじゃないんだよ
That's not how we meant it. After learning everyone had doubted Beatrice's existence, Maria, who'd been in a good mood all day, completely lost her temper. And George, who sat in the next seat over, tried frantically to calm Maria.
ゴーダそれもディナーの何かの余興なのかね
Is some sort of dinner entertainment.
なかなかの味な演出だ
Quite the performance.
兄貴
Aniki,
三文芝居はやめようぜ
quit playing
兄
dumb.
貴が呼んだんだろ
You called her here, right?
呼ぶ
Called.
誰よ
Called who?
どこから
From where?
兄さんは
Nissan.
っきりさせましょう
Let's be clear about
あ
this.
れは誰
Who is she?
まさか本当に肖像画のベアトリーチェだと言うんじゃないでしょうね
Surely you aren't going to tell us it really is the Beatrice from the portrait, right?
私にはお前たちが何を言っているのかさっぱりだ
I don't have a clue what you people are
ゴ
talking
ーダ
about.
これは本当に冗談ではないのだな
Dodo, you really aren't joking, right?
私はその源氏さんからそのように指示を受けただけでしてその
I was ordered by Genji-san.
源氏を呼びなさい
Oh, for
今
Genji.
すぐ
Immediately. When Natsuhi yelled, Goda sped out into the hallway. The sound of the door being thrown open was the spark that set the dinner table ablaze.
じゃあ兄貴も知らないってんだな
You're saying you're in the dark too,
呼んだの
Aniki?
は誰だ
Who called her? Is it Dad?
私には何のことかわからんね
I don't know anything
お
about
前
this.
たちは私が裏で糸を引いていると信じているようだがそれは大きな誤解だ
It seems you people think I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes, but it's a huge misunderstanding.
クラス兄さん
Calm
落
down,
ち着い
Crows.
わしらはもう腹の探り合いをすべき段階にないで
We've gone past the stage of
も
skirmishing
し
with
兄
each
さん
other.
も知らない怪人物だっちゅうんならこれはとんでもない話になるんや
If
で
you're saying even you don't know this mystery person, then something crazy is going on.
秀吉さん言葉を少し慎みませんか
Hideyoshi-san, can't you be a little more discreet with
主
your
人
words?
は親族会議に不要な人間を招いたりはしません
My husband would not invite unnecessary people to the family conference.
まったくだお
Obviously.
前たちは何を言っているのかね
What are you people talking about?
肖像画の魔女が額縁を抜け出して現れたとでも言うのかね
Are you saying the witch of the portrait broke out of her frame and appeared?
実際にその魔女様に会ったという人間がいるわけでもなかろうが
It's not as though anyone's actually met this witch face to face.
私会ったわ
I met her. Ava and Rudolph nodded at Rosa's proclamation.
マリアも会った
Met her
フ
too.
ランスおじさん信じて
Uncle Kraus, believe it. Maria's dialogue actually being good here.
ママ
Nice.
を信じて
Believe Mama. The brief tension was broken and Maria also started making a ruckus. By now the room was thoroughly wrapped in chaos.
何が何だかさっぱりだぜ
I don't have a clue what's going on.
つまりなんだ
What does it mean?
じい様に黄金を授けた魔女様が今年の親族会議にはスペシャルゲストとして
Does
登
it mean the
場っ
witch
てわけ
who
か
gave grandfather the gold is showing up as a special guest this year?
しかし本当に
Is that really
ローザお
true?
ばさんの見間違いってことじゃねえの
Aunt Rosa didn't see it wrong, did she?
マリアも会った
I met her too!
ローザおばさん間違いなく
Are you
なんですか
sure? Yes.
ええ私とマリアは会って話もしてる
Maria and I met her and we even talked to her.
私は会ったの
I met her.
あれは間違いなく魔女だった
I was definitely a witch.
信じて
Believe me.
私の見間違いとか錯覚とか
I definitely
そん
didn't
なの
see
じゃ
it
感
wrong
じてない
or hallucinate or anything.
あれは何だったの
What on earth was that? In the instant before the typhoon arrived, Rosa definitely met a witch in the rose garden. But the scene had been so hard to accept as truth, the more she spoke of it like this, the less she understood what it was she encountered. And ironically, since she was losing her composure, the more frantically she tried to cling to her claim, the more confused and hazy the thing she was describing became. Because of that, it took a single, calmly spoken sentence to confirm the nature of what she was describing beyond doubt.
私も会ったわ
I also met with her.
挨拶とはとても言えないけれど 一応言葉も交わしてる。
Greeted, well, couldn't really call it that. I exchanged a few words with
ロー
her.
ザさんの見間違いとかじゃ断じてないわ。
It's definitely not something Rosa saw wrong.
キリエさん、それマジかよ。
Yes, are you serious?
ええ。
Yes.
でも彼女は私に名乗らなかった。
But she didn't tell me her
だから
name.
彼女がベアトリーチェであると断定はでき
So
な
I
い。
can't say for certain she was Beatrice.
でも、主観的で恐縮なんだけど、
Sorry, and this is subjective.
私は玄関ホールで彼女に会ったから、肖像画と顔を見比べることができた。
Since I met her in the entrance hall, I was able to compare her face with the
私
portrait.
は第一印象で、彼女こそがこの肖像画の主に違いな
My
いと
first
思
impression
っ
was
たわ。
that this portrait has to be hers.
あくまでも主観よ。
It's all subjective.
そんなことはありえません。
It's not
第
possible.
一、その女はどこからやってきたとい
In
う
the
ので
first
すか。
place, where did she come from?
今日の船は皆さんの送迎のための便が往復しただけです。
The only boat arriving today was the one that brought all of you here.
その船に乗っていたのですか。
Was she on that boat?
それを言われると弱いね。
Hard to say
確か
for
に
sure.
そんなご婦人と一緒に下船した記憶はない。
Of course. I don't remember any woman like that getting off the boat with us.
あら、そう？
Oh, is that all?
私たちの乗ってきた船以外に船はないってどうして証明できるの？
Can you prove there wasn't a boat besides the one we rode
で
on?
きないわ。
You
来
can.
なかったは証明できない。
You can't prove that one didn't arrive.
道理だな。
Makes sense. You can't prove that she didn't arrive via boat from elsewhere. I think I'm on board with that one.
来たは証明できる。
If another boat did arrive, it might be possible to prove it.
来たのを見たやつが見たと言えばいい。
If someone saw it and said they saw it, then you're
しか
dead.
し、来ないは証明できないぜ。
But it's impossible to prove that such a boat didn't arrive.
全員が来ない、見てないと言ったところで、全員が見てないところでこっそり来たことを否
Yes,
定
we
は
get
で
it,
きない。
Battler. Even if everyone says no such boat arrived and that they didn't see it arrive, you can't prove it didn't arrive secretly. That's right, even if 100 people were looking straight at an object, you can... I hope Battler changes his opinion by the end of this chapter. I mean, they might be trying to do like a realistic ending where Beatrice doesn't use any magic to kill everyone here. Try and throw us off like the magic case or something, but... yes, Battler's statement's true. If there's 100 people watching a doorway, and then a doorway to a room with only one entrance or exit, and someone somehow gets into the room, you can't prove that all 100 people didn't just miss the guy casually walking into the room. It's not very good evidence to say I didn't see it, but you have to at some point say that's good enough.
つまり、悪魔の証明ってやつだ。
It's the thing they call a devil's proof. It'd be simple to prove that devils exist, all you have to do is meet a devil. It's impossible to prove devils don't exist. Just by saying no one ever met a devil, you can't deny the possibility they're hiding somewhere humans can't go. You can't deny the existence of aliens for the same reason. Until humanity searches the whole of space, it can show perfectly that aliens don't exist. You can't be sure they don't exist. It's definitely impossible for us to ever check the entirety of space for the existence of aliens. Therefore, while there may be a number of ways to prove aliens exist, it's always impossible to show proof that denies their existence.
となれば、僕たちが乗ってきた船以外の船で来たかどうかなんて、議論しても無駄な問題ということになるね。
So any discussion of there being a second boat would be a waste of time?
僕たちと一緒の船にはいなかっ
He
た。
wasn't on the boat with us?
それだけが事実で、それ以外の方法で、
You can't prove
と
she
にか
wasn't on the
く
boat with
こ
you
の
even
島
if
に
you were
訪れた
standing...
ことになる。
You can't prove that, but yeah. But yet you'll make that judgment. Alright. That much is a fact. She must have arrived on the island through some other means.
そうね。
It is likely. It is. We can't realistically prove it, but it seems likely she didn't arrive on our boat, and it's more likely she arrived on another boat or by other means.
どうやって来たかなんて議論の必要はないかもしれない。
There may be no need to discuss how she came
肝心
here.
なのは現にこの屋敷に今いて私たちと晩餐を共にする気がないという事実よ。
What's important is she's actually in the mansion now and doesn't feel like having dinner with us.
整理しよ
Let's review.
う。今この島には後ろ宮家18人以外にもう一人客がいる。
Right now, there's another guest on the island other than the 18 people with the family.
そしてそいつは兄貴も夏日姉さんも知らない客だってんだ。
This is a guest even Aniki and Natsuki-san don't know about, right?
知りません。
I know
何
nothing.
の話だかもわかりません。
I don't know what you're talking about.
お前は少し黙っていなさい。
He's silent for now.
頭痛に触る。
Your headache will get worse.
妻の言う通りだ。
It is as my wife
私にはお
says.
前たちが何の話をしているのかさっきからさっぱりだ。
I have no idea what you people have been talking about up till now.
じゃあ答えは一つしかないわ。
Then there can only be
お
one
父
answer.
様が呼んだのよ。
Father
今
called
日
her
の
here.
親族会議のために。
Called her here for today's family conference.
親族会議に
It's a family
だ
conference.
から何のために
Again, why?
そんなの知ら
I
ない
don't
わ
know
よ
that.。
兄さんが知ってたらそれを問い詰めようって思ってたのよ。
I'm questioning you because I thought you might know. Wow, she's like being like really, she's being really shouty this chapter. Like previous chapters, she was really calm most of the time and just being like super venomous. And now she's like actually screaming at people like every other line.
エヴァ、予算か。
Ava, give it a rest.
クラス兄さんは知らんと言うとる。
Krosny-san says he doesn't know.
つまり話はこうや。
Here's what we got.
お父さんが肖像画の魔女にそっくりの客人をこっそり招いた。
Father stealthily invited the witch of the portrait as a secret
それ
guest.
にローザさんが出会い、マリアちゃんが出会い、そしてキリエさんもあった。
He met with Rosa-san and Maria-chan and then Kirei-san.
今はそこまでや。
That's all
わ
for
しら
now.
に言いたいことがあるんなら、とっとと姿を現せばええ。
If she had something to say to us, she could just show herself right
挨
away.
拶もなしに引きこもってるっちゅうんはどないなわけなんや。ってこと
And
な
now we've got to wonder why she shut herself up without greeting us.
親族会議なんか花から関心のない親父が新しい愛人をこっそり呼びつけたってわけか？
Does this mean Dad, who never gave a crap about this family conference in the first place, secretly called a new mistress here?
理想の魔女様のおべべを着せてよ。
And had her wear the clothes of his ideal witch?
そう決着するには今日という
It's
日は
too
意味を
important
持
for
ち
that
すぎてるぜ
explanation to fly.
理由は一つしかない。
There's only one reason.
親族会議に加わるためよ。
To join in on
お
the family
父様の
conference.
遺産について何かの権利を主張す
She
る
wants
気
to
でいる
claim
の
some
よ。
right to father's inheritance.
バカバカしい。当
Ridiculous.
主様に愛人などと汚らわしいものなどおりません。
The family head wouldn't have anything as filthy as a mistress.
お前は黙っていると言っている。
I told you to be quiet.
私はこの屋敷でずっと親父殿と過ごしているが、そんな話は聞いたこともない。
I've lived in this mansion with father all this time and never heard a thing about something like that.
最大限理解を示したとして、
If we stretch plausibility to the
何十
limit
年も昔の愛人との間に隠し子がいたとして、
and assume father had an illegitimate child with some mistress
そ
decades
れを
ago,
親父殿が探し出し、今日という日に呼びつけたと、
then perhaps father searched her out and called her here
こう
today.
言いたいのかね。
Is that what you're trying to say?
あなたお父様にそんなものがいるわけがありません。
Sir, to think father has such a
尊い
child.
後宮の血が愛人ごときに。
Waste the noble blood of the Ishiromiya family on a
先
mistress.
ほどから数人が見た見たと自称しているに過ぎま
Nothing
せ
more
ん。
than a few people making wild claims.
幻想妄想白チュームに決まっています。
Obviously a fantasy, a delusion, a
あるい
daydream.
はこれも夫を陥れるための皆さんの何らかの芝居なのですか？
Or is everyone partaking in some kind of act to trick my husband?
何の芝居だってのよ。
What
芝居だって言うならそっちでしょうが。
If anyone's acting, it's you.
よせよ姉貴。
But
ちょい
Anarchy.
と暴力的な言い方だが夏日さんの言う通りではある。
Natsuhi may be a bit over vehement, but she's
キ
right.
リエは姿を見たが
Kirie
俺
saw
は
her.
見てない。
I didn't.
姉貴もだ。
Neither did you, Anarchy.
だがローザは見た。
But Rosa did.
しかしってことはいるっ
That
て
just
こと
means
に
she
なる。
exists.
いるを証明している連中が存在する以上、いるで直ちに決着だ。
There are people who can prove she exists, so we're sure right away
悪
she
魔の
does.
証明の逆パターンってわけ
It's the
だ。
opposite of a devil's proof.
それに、俺も
I
会いた
want
い
to
ん
meet
だ。
her too.
そして、一体当家に何の御用かと直接問いただしたい。
I want to ask her directly what kind of business she has with the Ashiromiya family.
それについては私も
I
同
agree
感
with you
だ。
on that. Why does it? I'm surprised Rosa doesn't say, well, maybe we'll find out after. Maybe after dinner we go up and talk to her. Maybe after dinner we see if she has anything to say, something like that. Maybe it'd be more ominous because Rosa wants to show off the letter. Maybe you just be like, maybe after dinner we'll find something out and just eat dinner in silence. And at the end of dinner, have your dessert and be like, all right, letter time, bitches. Rosa's not actually gonna say letter time, bitches. That was all me, but you know.
六軒島へ何のご用かぜひお尋ねしたいものだ。
I do indeed wish to inquire as to what business she has on Rockinjima.
白々しいこと言わないで。
Don't play
狙いは
dumb.
一つよ。
There's only one thing she could be
お
after.
父様の遺産を狙ってるの。
Oh, there's
相続
inheritance.
問題に明るい弁護士に今後の作戦を練らせるべきよ。
We should work out our future plans with a lawyer who's hot on inheritance issues.
お母様と同格の権利を愛人が主張した場合、私たちの取り分はかっきり半分さらわれることになる。
If the mistress claims equal rights as mother, our shares will be cut right in half.
ちょっとみんな待って。
Wait a second.
源氏
everyone.
さんがもうじき来るわ。
Genji will come soon.
彼は何でも知ってる。
He knows
きっ
everything.
と私たちの疑問に答えてくれるわ。
I'm sure he'll answer our question.
それまでそういう話はなしにしましょう。
Until then, let's stop talking about this.
さあ子供たち、
Hey, kids.
悪いけれど大人はちょっと込み入った話をしないといけないの。
Sorry, but the adults have to talk about something
ゲス
complicated.
トハウスへ戻っていなさい。
Return to the guest house. Wow, they can't even eat dinner? They're just like, get the fuck out of the dining room. You're not allowed to eat. Like, what? Okay. Rosa yelled at the children, slightly overcome with emotion. They didn't understand why they were suddenly being yelled at this time, but Ava and the rest realized it too late. They were talking so bluntly about the filthy topic of the inheritance right in front of the children. Of course they wouldn't want their children to remain, so they all immediately agreed with Rosa's plan.
そうやな。ローザさんの言う通りや。
Right, just as Rosa
ジョー
said.
ジ、
George,
いとこみんなでゲストハウスに戻ってるんや。
take all your cousins and go back to the guest house. Hot on inheritance issues is funny phrasing. You like most of this translation, but who says that? Yeah. I mean, it's not... It's unusual phrasing, but honestly, I can give most of it a pass, because remember, in theory, this is 1980s Japanese translated to English. So if you use some, like, really weird phrasing, or, like, a euphemism that seems like it's 20 years out of date, I kind of just give it a pass, because I'm like, oh, yeah, it's old. It's like if you had something set in, like, the 1800s or 1600s, and there was some, like, random Shakespearean dialogue thrown in there, and no one blinked, you'd just be like, yeah, okay, seems close enough. Whereas for this, it's like, it's a weird phrase no one says, but it is the 80s. Like, they're not pushing weird 80s lingo super hard, but, you know, some weird phrases seems okay. 80 is 20 years out of date plus. Yeah, it's 40 years. 40... it's 80... What? It's 85 this year? Or 86 this year? Yeah, so it's been quite a few years. I'm just used to saying 20 years because I assume that like anything before the year 2000 is all, like I put like anything after World War II and before the year 2000 as at the same time. It was like really weird. I went to college and I met someone who was like doing their graduate studies, and like we were talking about something and I forget how it came up, but they mentioned seeing the Berlin Wall fall, and I was like, what the fuck? I thought that happened in like the 60s. I'm like, you don't look sick. And she's like, no, man, that was like the 90s. I was like, Jesus fuck. It's like, it's so old. It's like, it was that recent? You were alive to see it? Like, what? I had my mind blown there. I was like a living person who wasn't like, you know, gray hair, beard, and like teaching fucking college for like 30 years was someone who saw the wall fall. I was like, god damn, man. Yeah, I have a bit of time blindness for the late 20th century. It was 94. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't be capable of remembering that. Like, that's not happening. Anyway. Alright, Father inherits, we should work out the future plans. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's right. Just as Rosa says, George, take all the cousins and go back to the guest house. What about dinner? Fuck your dinner. We're assholes.
いとこ同士仲良く遊ぶんやで。
Play nice together.
ジョージ、 言われた通りになさい。
George, do as you're told.
いとこみんなを連れて
Take
今
all the
すぐ出
cousins
てい
and
くの
leave.
よ。
Why? Real question. Why are the adults kicking every single person out of the dining room and telling them they can't eat or have dessert when they didn't do anything wrong, but they're allowed to do that? What a bunch of assholes. Alright.
ちょっと待ってよ、
Wait,
母さん。
Wait, what the-
僕たちはまだ食事も終えていな
Finish
い。
eating.
デザートもまだ来てない。
The dessert hasn't even come out yet.
デザートはゴーダさんにゲストハウスに運ばせます。
Philip, Goda, take dessert to the guest
だから
house.
出て行きなさい。
Leave.
ジェシカ、
Yes,
ここから先は大人の話し合いです。
From here on, the adults will be talking
行きなさ
together.
い。
Go.
わかったよ。
Gods, I have the feeling that I'm curious to see if Rosa gets fucking murdered for not following the witch's instructions. Why are they chasing him to a whole separate building? Because I don't know why. I don't know why. Why not have them hang out in the parlor, dude? I don't fucking know. These parents are like, we can't be seen discussing inheritance, but anyway, we'll talk about the inheritance literally like 10 feet, you know, as the crow flies from our father, who we're not supposed to talk about in front of. But we can't have our kids see us talking about that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, their paranoia is kind of weird. I don't fucking know. And it's like, they're kicking them out of their own dinner so they can't eat? Like, what? And they can't be in the same building is like double extra weird, but whatever. As I recall, in the first chapter, they kind of exiled them to the guest house as well after dinner, right? After dinner, they get exiled to the guest house. Yeah, basically they decide they can't trust themselves not to yell so loud the whole mansion hears it, basically. Which is kind of strange. You would think they'd go to... If they were thinking, they would probably all go to the guest house themselves and have everyone else stay at the mansion because their father's in the mansion, right? But they don't actually care about him, so... They're kicking the kids out and being like, yeah, fuck him, we'll take the nice place.
まだ食いかけだってのよ。
Sure, even though I'm still eating.
ってことは
Guess I
これだ
won't
け
be the only
例外っ
exception.
てことはないよ
理解してくれてあり
Yeah.
がとう。
I know they don't want the kids to see them yelling at each other, but I'm like, damn, these guys are like way too paranoid about this shit. Thanks for understanding, Peddler. It's like, have you ever considered just, you know, not yelling at each other? And being this, like, venomous, you know? Ever considered not being an asshole? It's like, I don't want you to see me being an asshole to every single one of my family members. So I'm gonna treat you like shit and kick you out of, and tell you to stop eating dinner. So that I can go scream at my siblings for some nonsense that I shouldn't even be screaming at them about. Like, okay. Way to be an asshole. Like, we don't want you to see us being assholes. So anyway, we're gonna make it really obvious that we're assholes. Like, okay, well, sure, do your thing. Thank you for understanding, Pedlick.
でもあなたラッキーよ。
You sure are lucky.
どうして
Why?
私も出て行けるなら出て行きたいもの。
I'd want to leave if I could.
違いねえぜ大人は大人で遺産をめぐって楽しい一家団らんをお楽しみく
I'll
だ
let
さい
you
って
guys
んだ
have your happy family chat about the inheritance.
私も席を外しましょ
I will also be taking my leave.
うどうやら今夜は私の出番はなさそうだ
At any rate, it appears my turn will not come tonight. Nanjo quietly rose to his feet. From his seat in the furthest corner, he'd been calmly watching the whole discussion without butting in. Surely that reaction of his was very adult, just what you'd expect of a calm old gentleman. Yeah, and then we have the other old gentleman. We'll say old man. Crazy old man? There's only two kinds of old man. Crazy old man and sweet old gentleman. And it's about a 50-50 split. When Nanjo rose from his seat, it ended up encouraging the others who were supposed to leave. The children noisily rose from their seats as they hurried into the hallway. The servants returned.
遅くなって申し訳ございません
I apologize for taking
源
so
氏をお
long.
呼びいたしました
It's called Genji.
お屋敷の中の戸締まりの確認に行っておりましたもので。
I was checking to see that all of the doors and windows were shut. It took me some time. A dementia riddled? And yes, and then the question is the dementia riddled old man nice or an asshole? They're mostly sweet. I said sweet old man. Or angry guy. Nanjo may or may not have dementia. They're also a bit crazy. True, that's dementia though. I'm not gonna make a different category of old man based on what diseases they have afflicting them. Then I could add like physically disabled old man and like old man with cancer. Like they're pretty. I thought the categories were okay, but it's all right. Yeah, that's true. Dementia sucks though. I hear they're like it's a 60-60 split. It's true. It's true. There's overlap. So I hear they're making progress on curing dementia. Racist entitled old man again in the asshole category / crazy old man category. All right. My apologies.
さあ、子供たちはゲストハウスへ。
Children to the guest house.
ゴーダさん、申し訳ないのだけれど、子供たちの分のデザートをゲストハウスへ運んでくれるかしら。
You carry the children's portion of the dessert to the guest house. I hear they're making progress, so it may not be an issue in the future. But as with all things, they've cured cancer 50 times, and people still die from cancer. So we'll be curing dementia for God knows how long.
は、よろしいのですか?
Is that we wish? It seemed Goda wasn't amused to see the dinner he worked on so hard interrupted like this. He sent Natsuhi a look as though asking her whether that was really okay.
ローザさんの言う通りにするように。
Do as Rosa
それ
says.
から私たちにデザートの配膳は不要です。
It won't be necessary to set out dessert
呼び
first.
出しがあるまで食堂には近づかないように。
Do not approach the dining hall until we call
こ
for
れ
you.
は他の使用人にも伝えること。
Tell the rest of the servants to do the same. They've cured HIV more times than you count. Isn't there a cure for HIV? There's actually a cure, isn't there? Like it's a permanent one? That thing's done? And dead? The more things we cure, the longer we live, the more new issues we get. Yeah. The more issues you get, like more of a drain on Social Security because more people are retiring, so they raise the retirement age so people work longer, which is pretty lame. It's not that most HIV cures are managing HIV. Really? I thought they had an actual cure for it. It doesn't become full-on AIDS. I thought they developed a permanent cure for it. The most recent limb, but I guess I'm wrong. Alright, do not approach the dining hall until we call for you. Tell the rest of the servants to do the same. Understood?
はい、かしこまりました。
As you wish.
さあさあ皆さん、
Come everyone.
参りましょうかな。
Shall we go?
マリアさんもこれ以上お母さんを困らせてはいけません。
Maria, you mustn't trouble your mother anymore.
マリアもベアとの話する。
I want to talk about Beato.
やだやだやだ。
マリアちゃん。
Maria-chan. Maria-chan, could you tell us about Beatrice in the guest house?
ぜひ魔女の話を聞きたいんだ。
I really want to hear about the witch. These days, HIV can be managed. The level is not causing you any issues that can't be spread. It can't be spread, though of course you should be careful just in case, but if you stop taking it, the meds, it comes back. So it's not a cure, it's management. I see. And it's also expensive management, because, you know, pills every single day probably fucking sucks. Pills every day probably sucks. And costs an arm and a leg, I'm sure. You really want to hear about the witch? Alright, George.
ジョージ兄さんは本当に
You're
うまい
pretty
ぜ。
smooth, George Nissan. Looks at you as a healthcare. Yeah, it's probably like $600 a pill or something, who knows.
本当に子持ちじゃねえのかよ。
That's why permanent cures are more useful, but I mean, at this point we know that global policy of corporatism is not encouraged to make permanent solutions. A permanent solution to HIV/AIDS is not profitable, because if you could take a pill and cure it, you'd only sell them the $600 pill or whatever it is. Whereas if you could just sell them a treatment for it for you know, let's say half the price, $300, you could sell them that for the rest of their lives. And everything else is going subscription only. I have no faith that there would be any actual incentive to create a permanent solution for most diseases. The best solution, the literal best solution for every single medical researcher is to make a symptom addressing solutions that people endlessly have to be on drugs that manage it so they can make shit tons of money. Look at a new delivery device of insulin that made insulin cost more than 500 times. I mean, we actually have global issues with insulin production in the first place, as I recall, as there is a shortage of insulin in Canada, a shortage and a ridiculously high price in the States, and there is only like 1 or 2 manufacturers of insulin, as it's apparently not profitable enough at the price point it is or some shit. I don't fucking know. I don't get how that shit works. It's like, it's a drug you have to be on for your whole fucking life. How on earth is it not it's like a drug you have to be on at your whole... How have you not mass produced this shit to the point where it's like you make tons of money? To the point where it's like dirt cheap and you can sell it cheap. $20,000 a year? Yeah, it's apparently like crazy expensive still. Yeah, it's apparently like crazy expensive to produce these days. And it's like unfeasibly expensive to purchase, so you have to have it like government subsidies to even afford it. Because people die all the fucking time from not being able to afford that shit in the US, right? It's not even that hard to find articles about people dying from diabetes because they couldn't afford insulin. I'm sure you don't have kids? You're too used to this. George's words completely restored Maria's good mood, and now she took the initiative, telling the others to head to the guest house. It looked like Goda didn't like being kicked out himself, but he couldn't disobey Natsuhi, so he left the room with Battler and the rest, closing the door. Is there a way I might be of service, everyone?
Yes, there sure is.
We've got a bunch of questions. You were mad when we remembered compared to today? Yeah, he the guy who invented insulin didn't put his name on the patents, and the co-inventors sold it for $1 to the UFT. Yeah. And now it costs a fortune. I don't know why, I think it costs a fortune because it costs a fortune to make, though. That's so whatever. Like, apparently there's no easier way to make it, or some shit. Insulin's like a weird fucking drug. They claim there's no easier way to make it and that it costs a ton to make. So, sure. Guess we just gotta wait for someone to magically invent a better way to mass produce insulin. It won't reduce the price, but it'll get rid of the shortages. But again, we've seen people induce artificial shortages in the markets for unnecessary things, so I don't know why people wouldn't do it for necessary things, other than that they'd be worried about competition. Because, I mean, you can artificially restrict the creation of, say, PS4s or the Wii Minis. You can artificially restrict those because there's physically no other way to get another source of those. It's illegal for anyone to make competition for a PS4. But someone can certainly make competition for insulin, so presumably if there was a better version or a cheaper version made, they'd have to compete. You got a bunch of questions? In fact, everyone does. So much we almost want to have a lottery to see who gets to ask first. Doesn't matter who wins the lottery. The first question will be the same, won't it? That's right.
正直に答えてくれ。
Answer me
今
honestly.
貴賓室にいるベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ？
Who is the individual called Beatrice in the VIP room right now? And the doors close as we see and change to elsewhere. Yep, saw that coming. So that was not entirely unexpected. It seems like Goda never gets to have his nice dinners, does he? We'll have to see if the third dinner is interrupted as well. The article you're reading says that newer versions of insulin that get prescribed are privately patented and cost a ton more for the patients. Yeah. They're better, but not that many times better to justify the costs. I see. You would think that regular ass insulin would still be cheaply made, but it's a weird world we live in. It's a weird world we live in. Because no one wants to make the cheap stuff. People just want to make the expensive stuff. And if no one makes if no one makes the cheap stuff, then you're good, right? If no one makes the cheap insulin and everyone makes expensive insulin, then everyone who sells expensive insulin profits. Everyone's favorite prisoner's dilemma. Right? It's the prisoner's dilemma. If nobody breaks ranks, everyone benefits. If someone breaks ranks, everyone else suffers. Kind of surprised nobody's prisoner dilemmaed their way to making cheap insulin, but it is what it is, I guess. It's always weird to see they don't actually change some things. It's like, okay, well, I know it's profitable for every company to always force subscription models on everything, which is why you don't want to make permanent solutions to any diseases, but I don't get why you wouldn't make a more efficient version of a product.
Emotional, damn it!
So that you can have an edge over competitors. I guess it's not a big enough market. It's like a big enough market to justify the cost of the manufacturing equipment or something. That might be what it is. Hideyoshi's claim that advertising doubled the taste was apparently right. After being chased out to the guest house, the kids and Nanjo gathered in the cousin's room and were eating cake that Kumasawa brought for dessert. It was both wonderful and high class, topped with lavish amounts of cream and decorated deliciously with fruits. Thankfully they're rich. They probably have like those plate covers so these wouldn't get ruined in the weather. Delicious as it was, it didn't taste quite as good for some reason. Goda-san selling it isn't nearly as good.
脳書きを求めようにも熊沢のばあちゃんに聞いた日にゃこのケーキの原料もサバってことになっちまうぜ
And if we ask the old lady to sell it, she'd just say it's made of mackerel. Huh? Really? You can make cake from mackerel? Oh boy, here we go.
このケーキもサバの絞り汁に小麦粉と卵を混ぜて焼き上げると
As you
くら
can
焼
see
き上
with
がるのでございますよ
as you can see with this very cake, if you mix in the squeezed juice of mackerel with flour and eggs before cooking, it comes out all fluffy.
それが本当ならすごいね。
It'd be incredible if true.
お父さんの店の新メニューにサバケーキとか登場するかもしれないよ。
Maybe mackerel cake will show up on the new menu at one of Father's restaurants.
サバって栄養満点でヘルシーっぽいイメージがあるしよ
Yeah, mackerel's full of nutrients and sounds
女
healthy.
性
Let's
と
go
か
for it.
お年寄りに人気が出たりしてな
Might get really popular with the women and the
俺は
elderly.
食わねえけどよ
I'm not gonna get anywhere near it though.
女はそんなゲテモノは食わねえぜ
Girls won't eat anything that weird.
年寄りも遠慮したいところですな
Even the elderly would wish to decline. Sounds like it's made for small children.
美味しいんですけどね
But it's delicious, you know? You know? Kumasawa was really cheering up the mood with her classic mackerel jokes, but the sound of the downpouring rain kept turning their attention towards the mystery guest. In the end, they showered Mario with questions again, since she was the only person here to have met Beatrice. I have to, like, suddenly go into my budget Italian accent every time I say
ま
her
さ
name.
か あの話が本当だったとはね。
Can't believe she was actually telling the truth.
その口ぶりだと、マリアが魔女に会ってたって話は、信じてなかったまでにも初耳じゃねってことらしいな。
Made it sound like, though you never believed it, this Maria meets the witch business isn't news for you.
ああ、
Yeah.
夢見がちなお年頃のよくあるおとぎ話くらいに思ってたぜ。
I thought it was one of those fairy tales you expect from a dreamy kid at that age.
いる
Exists.
ベアトリーチェはいる
Beatrice exists.
毎年親族会議に来るたびにマリアは会って一緒に遊んでた
Every year when we come to the family conference, I meet her and we play together.
そうですね。ベアトリーチェ様は普段はお姿をお見せになりませんけど、
Although Beatrice-sama doesn't usually show
心が
herself,
綺麗で素直な方の前にはひょっ
here she
こり姿を現していたずらを
unexpectedly
する
appears
ことも
before
ある
honest
そうで
people
す
with
からね。
clean hearts. I forgot Kumasawa is absurdly wordy and everything she says is as verbose as humanly possible. Sorry for speaking over you, Kumasawa. Beatrice, or Beatrice, refer to that character in the fairy tale about the Rockinjima witch. Keep Kinzo in a good mood. The family and servants acted as though they believed in the witch of his delusions. That's how Rockinjima's fairy tale, or maybe the ghost story, had come into being. The family members who knew that backstory, the fairy tale of the witch, wasn't something to be taken too seriously. However, they were never able to say it aloud in front of Kinzo. Because of that, the legend of the witch carried more weight to someone like young Maria, who didn't know the story of how it came into being. That's why Maria believed in the legend of the witch. She accepted it entirely, and that was only natural for an imaginative girl who believed in witches, so people avoided saying anything that would betray her dream. On the contrary, they worked together to say and do things that would help liven up her dreams without her knowing.
だからマリアちゃんがベアトリーチェにもらったお菓子と言って僕らに見せびらかすことがあっても、
So when Maria-chan was showing us the candy that supposedly
多
came
分
from
誰か
Beatrice,
がそういうことにしてマリアちゃんの手提げの中にこっそり飴玉でも忍ばせたのだろうって
I
思って
figured
た。
someone subtly slipped it into her handbag.
私も昔に2度か3度
I've
そう
done
いう
things
ふ
in
り
the
をして
past. Similar things.
こっそりお菓子を置いてあげたことがあります。
Secretly placing sweets somewhere.
おそらく熊沢さんにも、いや使用人の皆さんや後ろ宮家の皆さんも一度
I
や二度
imagine
はあ
even
るんじゃないでしょうか。
Kumasawa-san, or rather, all the servants and everyone in the Yoshiromiya family have done it once or twice.
無邪気な小さい子が喜ぶなら、口裏を合わせてお菓子を置いてくこともある。
So if it'll make a small innocent kid happy, you might place a sweet somewhere and have everyone join in on keeping the secret alive for her.
ってことは、ジョージの兄貴なんかだいぶやってそうだな。
Come to think of it, I bet you do that kind of thing all the time, George Aniki.
まあね。
Well, who knows? That's so bad. I'm shaking my head at George. It'd probably be boorish to admit such a thing out loud. If George admitted it while being extremely wary that Maria didn't find out.
つまり、サンタクロースみたいなもんか。
In other words, it's like Santa
子供の夢
Claus.
を守るために、両親がグルで嘘をついて、寝静まったこの枕元にプレゼントを置いていたと。
To protect a kid's dreams, the parents plot together and lie, setting presents at the bedside of a child fast asleep.
子供の夢って守ってあげたいし。
After all, you want to protect a child's dreams, right? Or you could just tell them that he's not real and that their kids are being lied to by their parents.
私は当然サンタなんていないってとっくに知ってるわけだけど、
Obviously, I've known Santa doesn't exist for a
も
long
し
time
覚め
now.
なくてもいい夢だったなら一生
But if
信
there's
じて
no
よか
reason
った
to wake
ぜ。
up from a dream like that, I wish I could have believed it all my life.
世の中は世知辛いばかりだと知って
Adults
し
know
ま
the
う
world's
から
filled
こ
with
そ
terrible
大
things.
人はせめ
They
て
all want to at least
子
protect the
供
pure
の綺麗
dreams of
な
a child.
夢を守ってやりたい。
ベアトリーチェはいるの
Beatrice exists. It might be part of Rosa's problem. She wants her child to stop obsessing over witches, but all the servants and cousins encourage it. It probably also doesn't help that she's obsessing over witches when Rosa says witches aren't real and witches actually do exist. It probably doesn't help that if the witch actually exists, that she's like, witches aren't real. And then she turns around and apologizes when she makes Maria cry. because she said witches aren't real, and then it turns out witches actually are real. So she's gonna have a really hard time becoming or existing as a figure of authority when she's wrong about witches and other stuff, right? Not only that, but everyone else disagrees with Rosa. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. Exists, we know.
へえ、いますとも。ベアトリーチェ様はおりますよ。
ベアトリーチェ様 does exist, right?
この前もですね、サバを干して紅茶の出汁に使おうとしておりましたら、そこへひょっこり。
Oh my god, she's still going. When I was drying mackerel to make some black tea, suddenly.
まあ、つまり、こういう調子だったはずなんだけどね。
Supposedly, at least.
つまり、
Simply put,
マリアを除けば、誰も信じてなかったはずの魔女ってわけだ。
This was supposed to be a witch nobody but Mario believed in. How's that going for you, Adler?
少し言葉が足りないね。
I wouldn't phrase it quite like that.
信じてなかったんじゃない。
The point isn't that we didn't believe.
信じさせてあげようとしたんだ。
We were trying to give her a chance to believe. So this is about not betraying a child's innocence, but Santa doesn't exist in reality. If you don't want kids to be disappointed when they learn the truth, you'd better off not showing them that dream in the first place. Is the fact I think like this proof that I'm still a long way from becoming a full adult? Maybe. I mean, that's my opinion too, right? If you don't want kids to be disappointed when they learn the truth, just don't show them a lie in the first place. Although my opinion is that you probably shouldn't lie to them in the first place anyway, so... I come from a slightly different angle and I'm like, you shouldn't lie to them, so... Especially on things that are like thoroughly unnecessary to lie about. Like, why lie that Santa Claus exists? In what way does this help you? In what way does this, like, necessary or important to lie that Santa Claus exists? Like, you can say, here's something they shouldn't know, and maybe, like, if you want to, you could maybe, like, lie to them that way, and if it's, like, something they shouldn't know. But, like, what's so wrong about knowing about a present existing? It's like, you're getting presents on Christmas from your parents. Like, what's wrong with that? Doesn't that just encourage you to actually understand why people are giving gifts in the first place? You could use circuitous. I mean, circuitous is still deceiving people. But I guess you could do that. Yeah, that seems fine. In fact, you think this... Yeah, we'll see. The true nature of Rakanjima's witch was finally starting to take shape in Battler's mind. However, their current situation overrode this understanding, and in fact it completely overturned its very premise.
という認識だったはずの魔女のベアトリーチェ様が実際に現れちまったと。
So we thought we knew what was going on, but now Beatrice-sama, the witch, has actually appeared in reality. Is that it?
しかもだ。おじさんたちの騒ぎを見る限り、どうも招かれた客でもないらしい。
Yes, and judging by how freaked out our parents were, it looks like she wasn't an invited guest. Nope.
こりゃ面白そうな話です。
Now things are starting to get interesting.
ベアトリーチェという女性が実在しないという前提は実は存在しない。
That is a true statement. There are countless Santas in the world asking children what they want, and different Santas giving presents. Absolutely true. That isn't the standard myth of Santa Claus, though. There's no reason for us to simply assume a woman called Beatrice doesn't exist.
ルドルフおじさんも言っていた悪魔の証明そのものだよ。
It's what Uncle Rudolph called the devil's proof? Yes, but why did you need to explain it in that way, George?
ベアトリーチェと名乗る女性の存在を僕たちは誰も知らなかった。
None of us knew a woman calling herself Beatrice existed.
でも、だからといってそれがベアトリーチェが実在する可能性を否定できるわけじゃない。
It's not the same as proving that Beatrice doesn't exist, yes.
南條先生はじいさまとの付き合いが長いですよね。
Nanjo, you've been friends with grandfather for a long time, right?
一時期親族会議でクラウスさんたちに随分と聞かれた話ですな。
At one point during the family conference, I was questioned quite thoroughly by Kraus-san and the others.
その昔、金蔵さんにベアトリーチェという愛人がいて、
He wanted to know if, long ago, Kinzo might have had a mistress called Beatrice and an illegitimate child with her.
なるほどな。
I get
親
it.
父たちは遺産分配で頭がいっぱいだ。
Our parents have their heads full with the inheritance
そこに
problem.
愛人の娘なんてのが現れれば面倒なことになるのは
Of course, if
火
the
を見
daughter
る
of
よ
a
り
mistress
明ら
like
か
that
って
showed
わ
up,
け
it'd be
だ。
troublesome for them.
クラウスさんたちも最初は源氏さんに聞かれたのでしょう。
Rouse and the rest probably asked Genji-san about it
しか
first.
し源氏さんは金蔵さんに忠誠を誓う側近で、多分私よりも金蔵さんが心を許す。
However, Genji-san is an aide who's sworn loyalty to Kinzo, and is probably a friend more trusted by Kinzo-san than
源氏
myself.
さんは多分何も語らなかったのでしょう。
I doubt he told them
そ
anything.
れで次に古い友人である
Next,
私
they
の
went
方
to
に
ask me,
話を聞こうというこ
an
とに
old
なった
friend
の
of
でしょ
his.
うな。
で
And?
結論として南條先生
Did he have a lover called Beatrice, Dr. Dancho?
おりました。いえ、私は会ったことはありませんぞ。
No, I've never met her.
ですが、そういう女性と交際があったと、金蔵
However,
さ
I
んか
have
ら
heard
聞
from
かされたこと
Kinzo-san.
はありました。
He had a relationship with a woman like that.
相当昔にお亡くなりになられたそうで。
He said she passed away a very long time ago.
死んだ
He's dead.
その間に子供がいたとか
Did the two of them have a kid?
それはわかりません。
That I do not know.
ただ金蔵さんはベアトリーチェを蘇らせるために研究をしていると。
But Kinzo-san always says that reviving Beatrice is the goal of his
普
research.
通は愛人を失い忘れがたみがいたならばそちらにその分の愛情を注ぐものです。
Usually, when one loses a mistress but has a child left behind to remember them by, they pour all their love onto that
で
child.
すから金蔵さんとベアトリーチェの間に子供はいなかったろうと。
Therefore,
私
we
たちは
naturally
自然
assume
に考えました。
there's no such child between Kinzo-san and Beatrice.
Hmm? ってことはそれも悪魔の証明になっちまうな。
That leaves us with another devil's proof. Man, they really like these devil proofs, this route. Okay. Like 5 references in 2 scenes.
愛人との間に子供がいなかったことは証明不能。
It's impossible to prove a child between him and a mistress didn't exist. We're going like this. Okay.
現にこうして現れた以上。
All the logic in this route's gonna wrap around devil's proofs. My god. Okay. Now that this child actually appeared, we have to assume she did exist after all.
少し暴力的な理論だね。
A bit of a rush
後ろ
argument.
宮家の遺産問題でトラブルが生じていることを聞きつけ、
It's more realistic. Someone caught wind of the trouble with the Yoshiromiya family
何者か
inheritance.
がおじい様の大昔の愛人関
Knew
係を
about
知り、
grandfather's relationship with a mistress long
それを
ago,
装って遺産問題に食い込もうとしているとかの方が現実的だよ。
and impersonated her trying to take a slice of the inheritance for themselves.
現実的で
That's
は
realistic. So I'm curious. This seems like a dead route because I'm curious if this will end as a dead route because we never read the letter and never got the plot hook to explore the epitaph. I assume that's how things are going to go here, or at least like I assume there's a chance that things go like that, where she's just like fuck the letter. They never bring it up to the kids. The kids never battler never solves the riddle, and thus it's like a dead end route. Let's see how this goes.
しかし本当に彼女が隠し子で
I'm guessing she remembers that it exists and maybe reads it at some point, but it's way too late. We can't deny the possibility that she really is an illegitimate child, or they dismiss it out of hand when they read it, when they're discussing it in the dining hall as they are right now. We can't deny the possibility she really is an illegitimate child.
しかもその上じい様に顧みられなくて孤独に生
One
き
who's
復
lived
讐
in
に帰ってきたっ
isolation,
て設定
forgotten
も
by grandfather,
否定はできねえ
returned
よ
for
な
revenge. Yep, sure.
復讐
Revenge?
なんだよそれ。
What do you mean?
ああすまんすまん
Sorry. It is Halloween after all.
男なんだよついつい面白そうな方に
Guys
脚
like to
色しちまう
dramatize
ぜ
stuff. Make it sound
妙
interesting.
なドラマの見過ぎだな
I've seen too many weird dramas. Normally that might have come off as a light joke, But the joke had landed after an uninvited mystery guest calling themselves Beatrice had marched in on the day of the family conference where the bloody argument that inheritance had become took center stage. There's no way Battler's joke would be welcomed with laughter. It was a really big help when Nanjo laughed brightly to calm everyone down. These guys are taking this way too fucking ominously. Jesus Christ, calm your fucking tits, everybody. It's just a person in the guest room. There's no reason to be like, oh my god, a person we don't know. How could it be? Just be like, wait and find out. Or if they weren't banned from the fucking room, I'd say go ask her yourself and be like, hey, what's your plan here? What's your intention? And she'll be like, oh, read my letter. But, not smart enough for that, apparently. We're doing something else all night.
なるほどなるほど。それはなかなか面白そうですな。
That does sound quite
そんな
intriguing.
筋書きの小説をぜひ読んでみたいもの
I'd
です。
love to read a novel with a plot like that.
まあ現実にはそんなこと
I
は
don't
で
know
き
if it would
ない
actually work. What do you mean it wouldn't work? Have you not read The Count of Monte Cristo?
何しろよ今この島には
After all, right now, on this island, there's 1, 2,
18
3,
人もいるんだぜ
a full 18 people, right?
妙なことをすればすぐにでも取り押さえられちまう
If anyone tries to do anything weird, they'll immediately get
それ
caught.
に台風のおかげで島から逃げ出すこともできない
And thanks to the typhoon, they can't even leave the island. In other words,
とんでもない事件を起こそうにも
if
ど
you
う
try to
に
do
も
anything
ならねえって
crazy,
ことさ
you'd be screwed.
同感だね
I agree.
退路の断たれた袋小路でしかも十分怪しまれているような状況下で
In a dead end, without any way to escape, and in a situation where everyone's really suspicious of her.
そんな恐ろしい復讐劇
I
なん
doubt
か
she could pull off a
とて
terrifying
もでき
revenge
るとは
drama
思
like
わ
that.
ないね
でしょうな。
Probably not.
ならば姿など現さずに暗躍しての復讐の方が現実味があるというものです。
It'd be more realistic if she'd come in secret without making her presence known.
堂々と姿を現して仇討ちなど時代劇の中でしか考えられませんな。
I simply can't imagine someone appearing openly to take revenge outside of some historical drama.
わからねえぜ。
I mean, she's only here because Battler said she didn't exist. So she's like, okay, I'll exist. Shut the fuck up and give me my credit, right? That's the only reason Beatrice showed up in this timeline is because in the last timeline he said she didn't exist, and it says she didn't exist because she was never on the island for the murders, so... Who knows,
復
right?
讐ってのは感情でやるもんだ。理
Revenge
屈
is
じゃね
based
え
on
ぜ。
emotion, not logic.
それこそ差し違えてでもなんて考えたら別に警察も人数も退路がなくても何も怖くはないかもしれねえぜ。
If you got someone willing to go down along with their opponent, they might not be afraid of anything, not even the police or large numbers of people.
大丈夫だよジェシカちゃ
It's
ん
fine, Jessica Chan.
僕たちが想像するような物騒なことは何も起きないよ
None of the disturbing things we're imagining will happen. Everyone's talking about murders because they maybe subtly have memories from their last route. We going that way?
遺産をめぐっておじさんたちがバトルロイヤルってのが物騒
Like
な
the
こと
battle
じゃね
royale
えっ
between
て
our
んだ
parents over the
な
inheritance isn't disturbing.
そうだよな。
Right.
父さんもルドルフおじさんも体格いいし、エヴァおばさんなんか格闘技習ってんでしょ。
Dad and Rudolph are pretty tough. Aunt Ava's trained in martial
大
arts.
丈夫だよね。
We'll be fine. Yeah. Jessica didn't say it aloud, but she vaguely noticed their own father stood in opposition to all the other siblings on the inheritance issue. They usually played nice in front of the children, but when that pretense was lifted away, like it had been at dinner, the result would be a tumultuous uproar. After realizing this, it was only natural for Jessica to be frightened at the thought that her parents might get caught up in some kind of trouble and become sacrifices for something terrifying.
だよなジョージの兄貴の言う通りだぜ
George is right.
何も起こらねえよ
Nothing's gonna happen, guys. The story's ending. In chapter 2, nothing happens.
魔女様の名前を語ろうとも
Even if she pretends she's
魔
a
法
witch,
も使えない人間の女が一人で何ができるってんだ
what can a single woman, human woman who can't even use magic do? Sudden creepy laugh made all of them jump. And when they realized the strange laugh was coming from Maria, they were shocked once again. I mean, you guys asked for this one.
そうなんだ。
I see. See.
それがバトラの認
So
識なん
that's
だ
how you
ね。
see it, Battler? Yep, that's right. You and... You're all enemies.
何かだよ。気色悪い声で笑うんじゃねえぜ。
Don't laugh all creepy like that.
バトラはベアトリーチェの存在をとりあえずは認めてる。
You accept Beatrice's existence for now.
19人目の客人程度には認めてる。
At least you can accept her as the 19th person and a guest. This time.
でもそこまでだね。
But that's all, right?
19人目のベアトリーチェが魔女であることは認めてないの。
You don't accept the 19th person, Beatrice is a witch, right?
突然何を言い出すかと思えば。
Of all the crazy things to say, god damn, are we seriously on this same shit again? I know that the whole reason we're doing this route is because we are, but seriously, Battler?
そりゃそうだろ。
Of course, that's what I think. He hasn't had any proof in this route, to be honest. So let's give him some credit. It's annoying because we've read the previous chapters, not because we're annoyed at his lack of evidence here. At his annoying the facts here, right? That said, Battler seems to have knowledge of his previous route, so I'm gonna tell him, fuck off, buddy. Battler's a cute dum-dum. Yeah, he's a dumbass, but I'm sure someone could say he's cute.
魔女なんているわけがねえ。
Witches can't possibly
それを語
exist.
る人間の女しかありえねえだろうが。
The only possibility is she is a human woman claiming to be a witch.
あれおかしいよバトラ
Isn't that odd,
ー。そ
Battler?
れは悪魔の証明だよ。
The devil's proof, isn't it?
魔女なんているわけがね
Of course,
え。で
witches
もそ
don't
れは
exist.
バトラが魔女に会ったことがないというだけで
But just because you've never met a
魔
witch
女の存在を否定することにはならないね。
doesn't mean you've proven that witches don't exist, right? Yeah.
そうだな。
That's right.
確かにそうだ。
You're not
魔
wrong
女
there.
がいねえを証明
I
するこ
can't
とはで
prove
きな
witches
い。
don't exist.
しかし、証明はできなくても主張はできる。
However, even if I can't prove it, I can claim it. Oh.
魔女はいねえという
I
俺
claim
の
witches
主張
don't
だ。
exist. On what basis?
どうして
Yeah, why?
どうして魔女はいないなんて証明できないくせに主張できるの
How can you claim that witches don't exist even though you can't prove it?
そんなものはいねえからだよ。
Because things like that don't exist. Battler, get the fuck out of here. I'll use the exact same argument. People can't go into space because it's impossible to leave the planet. Prove me wrong. By the way, going into space doesn't count. Done. It's impossible, right? That's Battler's proof. Anything outside my realm of knowledge is impossible, especially if it's something that's not common to happen. I don't know anyone who's been to space. I can't go to space myself. It doesn't exist. You can't go to the moon. Nobody's been on the moon. Okay? Easy. You want to prove that you've been on the moon? Try it. I mean, try to prove it to me. Prove it's possible to go to the moon. You could literally take me to the moon and I can still deny it. That's Battler's rationale and it's quite annoying. Oh well.
それで QED?
Yeah, it's QED.
何の証拠も根拠
You
もな
finished your
く
proof?
証
No
明
evidence
終
nor
了
basis? In fact? Yep.
無知が自分の浅が草を棚上げする時の典型例
Yeah, this is a typical case of the ignorant willfully ignoring the shallowness of their own knowledge. Yep.
暴
That's
力
what it was
的
like
思
last
考
time.
停止だね
A reckless suspension of thought.
となりゃ答えは
There's
一つだ
only
ぜ
one way to
マ
resolve
リ
this,
ア
Maria.
魔女側の反証しかねえってことだろ
The witch's side needs to show some proof
これま
themselves.
た悪魔の証明だ
A devil's proof again.
連れてくりゃ話は早い
If you bring me a devil, we end this now.
この場合はベアトリーチと名乗るご婦人が
In this case, we can get this woman
お
calling
星
herself
様がキラキラ
Beatrice
飛び散るような華麗な魔法をステッキででも披露して
wonderful, magnificent magic like the twinkling stars. You mean like when she killed you? Or when she killed all of your friends in front of you for her own amusement in the tea room? Because the tea room's canon for some reason? So you don't really need evidence, you're just gonna reject it offhand anyway? This is a pointless
人
statement.
間には不可能なことをやって
All she
み
has
せ
to
れ
do
ば
is
いい
show
っ
us
てこと
something.
だろ
That's impossible for humans, right?
ほら、お二人とも。
Come on, you two.
落ち着いてくださいな。
Kumasawa noticed the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. The thing is, Battler's going to go with his... Battler's gonna, since we're on Devil Proofs, Battler's gonna do his Devil's Proof in that... just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't be done. Therefore, all things are possible. Proof that not everything is possible. That's his argument, right? That's his next argument where he's gone already, right? We're not really having a new argument or a new discussion here. We're just like having the same argument we've already had, which means I already know what he says. When she confronts him with the impossible, he says, "I know it's not possible. It may not be possible for people now, but who knows? In 100 years, it might be possible. Therefore, you're not a witch," which is probably the dumbest thing to ever say. It's not possible. It's not possible now, but it might be possible in the future. Therefore, magic doesn't exist. Like, okay. Yeah. Then the person who's a magician has to prove that it. In order to prove that magic exists, Battler is asking someone to prove that there's something that can't be accomplished in the real world, ever, for all eternity, which is an impossible proof, right? Because you have to prove that something is impossible, which is not something that's doable, because it's the devil's proof by their own admission, and we can use that term easily here because that's what they keep spamming in their chat. Is it so unreasonable? Give an example. Okay. So, no, Battler's asking, and what he asked previously in his previous discussion was when Beatrice confronted him with magic, he says, "It may not be possible now, but I don't know that it's not possible in the future because we weren't able to do a lot of things we can do today 100 years ago, and we don't know what we'll do in the future." So basically, if you literally are like completely naked and just start throwing fireballs and fucking freeze like a fire, you can just like if you throw fireballs or fucking fly to the moon and kick it out of orbit and then fly right back, like, and bring me along for that. Okay, a person walks up to, like, Battler is saying that he can just say, "Oh, that's just super tech," and that's kind of true. It could be super tech, but the thing is, like, you don't know that, and you can't say, well, magic doesn't exist. You can say, well, it might be magic, but after all, like, you know, it's sufficient, because Battler's argument is, like, you know, sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, therefore magic doesn't exist, which is fine. A person walks up to you, says they have a machine which turns lead into gold. It's a patent. They can't show it to you because they're afraid you'll steal the technology. And the reason you'd say that that's dubious is because many people have claimed they can do that in the past and failed. I would say, like, okay, your machine that turns lead into gold probably doesn't exist because 50 million people have said it, they can do it and failed, and we know that it's very difficult to do so. However, if you can do it, that would be interesting. If they're not going to show me, that's fine. But the thing is, Battler's been shown magic on multiple occasions. And they'll prove it to you. They take a small lead coin, turn a crank, and out comes a gold coin. They do it 5 more times and say, "I need some more money," make it happen. Do you give the money? But they're not asking for anything. They're not asking for anything here. In the case of lead machine crank, so the assumption is that they have a clear device. They have a device which is a black box that does something to you. You'd say you need more information on how to replicate the process. People tried to do the things Beatrice has done in the past and never succeeded. Correct. The things Beatrice has done in the past and failed is true. Battler's saying, "I don't know what you did, Beatrice, but it's not magic." Yes. But the nature of what Beatrice is doing is unreasonably beyond what your current technology could ever hope to accomplish, and doesn't seem to require any reasonable inputs. It's like, I don't know what you're doing, Philip, but it's not a magical process. That is a thought. That is a thought, I guess. You could say magicians are usually fraudsters. But I would say like, okay, some of her murders are a little bit dubious, but I'm pretty sure if someone murdered me, brought me back from the dead and all the people around me that they killed, and then killed them in front of me and resurrected them again, I'd probably be like, you know what? I personally was actually killed, blown into pieces, and you brought me back. I'll take it. It's fucking magic. Like, at that point, you're just like, your process works. I can't deny your process doesn't work. I don't like your process, but it works. Like, I feel like at some point you have to accept that things are real enough, and having observed someone be dead, their corpse, and then watching them explode and then reform in front of you, you're like, this is either so absurdly high-tech technology that I could never possibly replicate it, and it may as well be magic, so I'll just accept it as magic. That's what you lean towards, where, like, it's something so far beyond your understanding that you just accept it as magic after a certain threshold, right? You're like, you've shown me something so unbelievable that it has to be magic. It could be magic, or it could not be, but it doesn't matter. If they claim it's magic, you'll just accept it. It's like, if I come back, okay, like think of it in an easier way. I'm going to take a computer and time travel, okay? I'm going to time travel to, like, the 2nd century AD, okay? If I come back with a cell phone and a time machine and say I'm a fucking wizard, does it matter? Does it matter if I'm a wizard or not? I don't think it does. I think you could say I'm a magician. I could say I'm a magician, and in fact, for a lot of people, that'd probably be true, right? It's like, if you do the isekai thing and get put in isekai land, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing, like, you'll use the excuse, I'm using magic, and it's, like, helpful or some shit, right? You're not gonna say, like, oh, I'm from the future, blah, 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 and have, like, this crazy explanation. Like, you're just gonna be like, fuck it, I'm a wizard. It's easier to say you're a wizard. So, at that point, if I'm that person, you know, if I'm that Iron Age guy meeting a guy with a computer, I'll just say, fuck it, it's magic. Because it's easier than explaining 3,000 years of history to every single person I come across. Yeah, it's the magic gun, right? Like, you can claim it's magic, because for all intents and purposes, for the people you're explaining it to, it's magic. Right? And if you want to, you can explain it and be like, well, sort of, you can replicate this in this way. And then they're like, oh, okay, it's less magic, it's more accepted knowledge. Like, magic is inherently things that are, like, impossible by your understanding. And so far beyond that you couldn't reasonably understand them in a short period of time. So you could say, like, the computers are a good example of magic to people in the real world, okay? For a lot of people, computers in the real world are effectively magic. You click some buttons, and you know theoretically that someone's sitting in a room programming shit, but basically, computers magically serve up information from all the way across the planet to you. You don't know what goes in, you only know that things come out and it's effectively magic. And that's why, like, your grandma or whatever is just like, the internet's not working, and you're like, no, grandma, it's your computer, it's loaded with fucking viruses all over the place. Or, like, you know, your Ethernet port's unplugged or something, like your Ethernet cable's unplugged. Because to that old lady, right? This isn't even something that's, like, 500 years old. To, like, the old lady who's terrible with computers, your computer may as well be magic. It's a question then. Is there a difference between sufficiently advanced technology and magic? And if there is, what is it? If you wanted, like, a really, really specific definition for, like, okay, I have infinite tech and infinite magic, what's the difference? It would be like, what would be a good, that would be, like, really hard to define, because typically in typical magic settings, magic uses a source of energy external to what is physically interactable with, and or uses magic from other planes. Now, in theory, with infinite technology, you could achieve harnessing energy from different planes, i.e. 0-point energy, which typically harnesses energy from, like, collapsed subdimensions. But at the end of technology and magic, they should probably both be the same. Yeah. They should probably both be the same in the end, because most sources of magic are powerful beings wielding energy from alternate dimensions or planes, i.e. like a warlock giving you actual energy, or you pulling magic from the astral plane, or you directly altering the physics of the world in some cases, which is sort of science. So it could be like it could just be a practical application of magic that relies on you directly harnessing forces rather than using devices by which to achieve that, or devices that can be made single-handedly. So you could also say that, like, woodcraft is also magic. can also do something out of nothing. It depends on what setting you're in. That's not quite true. Something from nothing isn't always true in the setting. In fact, most settings with magic have a cost. Now, typically magic will violate known rules of physics, but you can't quite say that pulling from another dimension will have exactly, if you can concretely replicate magic, because it's typically studied, like a fucking wizard is just studying a different branch of science. You could say it's actually just a different branch of science. That would be a good answer. A different branch of science that relies specifically on extraplanar energy that can be manifested is physically capable of being manifested without assistive devices. We could say something like that. If you can do it with your hands and if you can access extraplanar energy without wielding only your hands, you're using magic. But then theoretically, on some existences, ether exists. Like if we go to Fate, right? Ether is your source of magic, right? Or magicules, which are like internally built on you by building an internal magic circuit and interacting with ambient atmosphere or ambient energy in the air or energy generated internally via bodily processes. Ether and grain, yeah. Right? And like magic in the current day in Fate is typically done via magic circuit, right? It's typically magic circuit because the ambient energy in the air is lacking. But if you made a technological device that pulled energy from the air, i.e., say like in Unlimited Blade Works, when they make a device that literally kills orphans to make magic and crystallize it from the air, they used a device for that, right? So would that be magic or technology? Specifically in Fate, right? Anything that directly interacts with ether would be magical, right? Zelrech's jeweled sword, yeah. In Fate, anything that interacts directly with like the ether or grain would be considered magical, right? You can have like really specific terms for that, right? So like in that setting, I would say anything that interacts with like ether or grain or functions on that level are functions, or is using a substitute energy source to replicate that function would work? I don't know. Substitute energy source seems a little bit vague. But that would be like the definition of magic. That would be the definition of magic for that setting. But in other settings, that's not necessarily true. For example, I think, in Malice and Book of the Fallen, you directly pull from other planes. And thus your ability to access them is done via opening a gate. A regular at Magic High School uses pseudoscience magic. Yep. In fact, they're directly programs, right? They're programs. And so is it in Fate Extra, right? All the magic is codecasting. These are interesting ideas. Interesting to see if they say counter-evolve. Maybe. I haven't seen too many series change my definition of magic that hard. I mean, what's another good example? Yeah, in Fate Extra, it's straight up science. Yeah, they're writing programs in Fate Extra, and they do everything inside of a computer. What's another thought? Don't the Asgardians in Marvel just use super tech? They use super tech, right, for basically everything. Though like their tech is like so advanced, it's so weirdly advanced that they apparently just treat everything like it's magic, right? It's somehow so advanced that they can hammer magical weapons into existence, right? That's the explanation in the movies. Don't ask me how that works, but yeah, because they have all the trappings of a medieval period society, but they manage to have super science. I have to say, I think a lot of readers are overly dismissive of Battler. The readers are all, this is fiction, magic exists. Instead, imagine you're Battler, and this were the physical world you experience. Would it be so bad to expect? Yeah, exactly. I think we already went over that, but I think if someone can like kill and resurrect me, and everyone around me repeatedly, I'll just accept that it's fucking magic, because that one's like I've said, anything that's like so far beyond, you just accept as magic. If it's so far beyond your understanding that you're like, well, okay, if you say it's magic, I'll just take it as that. It's like naturally, of course, you as a human, right? If someone says something's magic, you're inclined to want to understand it and demystify it, and that's perfectly fine to be like, it's magic for my purposes, but I'm gonna try and make it not magic and approach it logically from like a scientific perspective, right? That works. There's nothing inconsistent with that. Yeah, you'd say I call it magic if you want. Yeah. It's like, yeah, exactly. Like, you kill it and you're like, okay, you say it's magic? Sure, go for it. Like, why not? Why not? We'll call this method of interacting with the world magic. Like, whatever the method is, we'll just call it magic. Sure. And then if you find a more appropriate phrase, or maybe, because like, whenever someone says something magic, it doesn't necessarily mean it's magical. It could just mean it's beyond their understanding or way of describing it. Right? It could just be beyond your method of explaining. You're like, I can't explain this at a level you'd understand, or I can't explain it at a level I understand. Like, Beatrice, does she know the source of her magic? Does it have a source? If so, there is none. Like I said, if technology goes far enough, it should be able to accomplish everything that magic can, because we don't currently know that there's something technology can't accomplish. You can't prove that there's something that magic can do that technology can't, so unless the rules of your universe are hard-coded such that magic and science cannot overlap, you would not be able to prove that there is a difference at all. Because it would just be, we haven't reached the outer limits of science. Like, what's another example? Like in 40K, right? They use literal magic, although they're just pulling from the warp half the time. But the Necrons have science advanced enough to interact directly with magic. Directly interact and restrict the flow of magic into the real world, which is I guess just another planes. Like, a lot of the time magic is just planes. There's only a few settings where it's not just extraplanar energy. Extraplanar energy harnessing, right? I'm trying to remember how World of Darkness does magic, because I know mages in that directly alter reality, and reality like snaps back, and that's the only thing that stops them from doing whatever the fuck they want. Is like, if they warp reality too badly, they just like, shit goes weird, and they get like crazy amounts of feedback. I don't know what their source of energy is, so that would be interesting. Maybe I should read the rulebook for Mage the Awakening or the Ascension. I think there's two of them. There's like 2 or 3 mage books. Is it Awakening or Ascension? That's the first one. Anyway, I should probably read like a couple of those. That would maybe clarify. I think that they might not use extraplanar energy sources, so that might be an interesting way to clarify what is magic. Because right now, as it is, I know most settings use other planes of some description, and typically and a lot of them don't need a direct interface. And obviously, there's some other ones that are just like, directly accessing the rules of the world. Like, for example, half the isekais, their magic is literally written into the rules of the world. So magic exists because the rules of the world dictate it exists, not because it's like it dictates. The rules of the world dictate. You're directly accessing you're directly requesting the world to do something based on the cost it expects of it, and you're requesting the world itself to do something, right? Your fireball in an isekai, most isekais, is done by casting fireball for 4 mana, or something like that, and you cast fireball. You can cast fireball not because fire inherently has those properties, but because when you ask the world to do something with this exact sequence, it does it. It does it for you, assuming you pay the cost, rather than actually being a physical characteristic of the world. Right? So that's like a game-esque world, right? Explanation of magic. Magic exists because magic is actually just a direct request to the world itself to do something, to manifest something, right? That would be another explanation of magic. All right, one sec. Kumasawa noticed the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. It seemed as though Battler quickly realized he wasn't acting like an adult, but Maria's expression didn't loosen. She laughed. As she laughed creepily, she kept staring at Battler. Quit it too, Mario. Let's get back in a good mood, okay? But like, actively rewriting the rules of the universe doesn't necessarily prove that there's something in the universe that can't be done, because it'd be part of the universe. It's very silly to ask for. It's very silly to ask for something like that. You'll never be able to prove that it's according to Battler's standards, basically, you can never prove that magic exists. Because he doesn't know everything, which is a bad argument. And he's arguing in bad faith. But it's okay. It's Battler. He doesn't realize that. If that's what you want, Beatrice will definitely show you. I'm not sure how much more thoroughly Beatrice could show him, but sure. Something impossible for humans. And when she does, you believe too, okay? You'll believe in Beatrice?
Oh.
Sure. If she lets me have a look, I'll believe. Or he laughs and altering all universal laws, yep. Altering universal laws doesn't make it magic. Just means you're regarding the laws of the universe. Via some unknown means. It's a chess debate between the witch and you, Battler. If you get checkmated, you'll believe in the witch. I like the way you put it. The witch shows her magic. My king is put into check. I quibble. I say it's possible to reproduce her feat using measures even a human could take, and my king escapes. I mean, this is really straightforward. Beatrice says she'll do something no human could do, and she extinguishes the sun. Battler says, I don't know how to do it, but technology in the future could do that. And if anything else, the sun itself will expire in a few million years. QED. Anyone could have extinguished the sun. And it's a human feat. Like, it's impossible for Beatrice to prove anything. It's a bad faith argument, Battler. Magic can't exist because he says it doesn't exist, because his definition of magic is things that can't possibly exist. Meaning you have to prove that if something can't exist. Very annoying. Failing to do that would be a checkmate. That's a pretty good analogy. Yes, I believe, to quote him verbatim... Actually, he said that verbatim, didn't he? He said in 200 years, everyone will have psychokinesis. I'm not even making this shit up, right? He actually said that in the tea room, right? That was his response to the people literally exploding and being resurrected, was psychokinesis. Everyone could have it in 200 years. QED, you could be from the future, and like it's not a QED, it's not a fucking magic trick. Like you can't make this shit up. He's just gonna refute that it's magic infinitely, or that it's real infinitely. Although that would be an interesting rule for magic in this setting, be that people have to acknowledge that they think it's beyond understanding. That's an interesting setting-wide rule for magic to work, right? Because that was kind of how miracles worked in the previous setting. Was miracles only worked if everyone believed in them and tried their best to achieve them. And so wouldn't the proof of something being magic being something that is doable as long as people believe in it, but the second it's unbelievable, it's impossible? That is an interesting thought, right? That's an interesting thought. Would you say that it's magic if it's something that can't be replicated by any matter of science, but only worked if you believed that it would work? That would be an interesting definition of magic. That might be this universe's definition of magic too. If you believe that it's magic, it works. If you don't believe it's magic, if not enough people believe, it doesn't work. Curious thought. Sort of works, right? In that case, Battler can never be proven right because he still doesn't have access to the sum of all knowledge of everything that's possible via science. So even if that was the definition of magic for this setting, it would still not work because Battler would say there's someone who doesn't believe in it, therefore it can't be real, it doesn't work, and it's not possible. And so the magic doesn't exist, right? Wouldn't that be the case? Where Battler would say, I don't know everything, and even if I do know everything, if I know everything and you try to do something and it fails because I don't believe in it, then it just doesn't, it's a thing that can't be done rather than magic, right? So based on his own viewpoint, even if the magic followed those rules, it would still be impossible to prove, right? Even if he knew everything, it would be impossible to prove, because he'd say, that's not possible. It's not possible, I know everything. And Beatrice would be like, it's only possible if you believe. And he's like, I don't believe because I know it doesn't work. Right? So magic can never exist. I think that would be his proof. That would be a good answer to him, right? It would be like, okay, well, if I give you all knowledge and prove that you can't do something, and then I try to do something and tell you it only works if you believe. It only works if you believe it exists, and he says, I don't believe. Therefore, because I know it doesn't work, then he's put himself in a position where it's impossible to prove something. Even if it's actually worse than Devil's Proof, because he actually knows everything. But the state of believing in it is required for it to exist. So Beatrice is in a scenario where she'll never win. Sure, she's in a scenario where she'll never win, even if both sides have knowledge of everything in the universe. Or knowledge of everything that's physically possible without magic. Right? That's a curious thought. That's a curious thought, though. Alright. Battler likes the analogy. Here we go. Battler? In chess, you and your opponent have pieces that move in the same way. You can predict your opponent's moves. But you know what? But what you aren't expecting is that your opponent's pieces might be able to move in ways far stranger than yours. So we're playing an asymmetric game. Like, say, StarCraft? Or never. You simply assumed that since witches must not exist, the movements of Beatrice's pieces will obviously be the same as your own. You know what? Sorry, but your chess partner isn't human. She's a witch. She can move her pieces in ways that humans can't. Right now your understanding is flawed. Battler, you like Aunt Kirei's chessboard thinking, right? He does. He's a big fan of it.
Ah.
Yep.
I like
that style of thinking, where you stand in your opponent's shoes. And that's why you'll get stuck. Even though your opponent's a witch, she won't accept it. So you can't understand the moves a witch might make in your chessboard thinking, Wilmer? Your knowledge of your opponent's mistake? I'm curious, is Maria operating as a mouthpiece for Beatrice right here? Or does Maria actually know this stuff herself? Because there's no way Maria could know this, as Maria hasn't spoken to us regarding the chessboard thinking stuff, right? Or really spoken to it that much? I'm trying to remember. I think he introduced chessboard thinking after the first murders, as I recall, to other people, that is. Where he's like, you know, my Kirei used to do this. So I'm curious if Maria has this knowledge independently, or if Beatrice is speaking through her. Your knowledge of the opponent is mistaken. The first premise of the chessboard thinking is broken down. Oh. So that's your game? You can't win in chess against a witch? I mean, you can win in chess against anyone with magical powers because they have to think about things, right? And if you predict what they're going to do, then it's not that difficult. But in this way... But, he cannot be defeated either, because all he has to do is refuse to believe her. An easy solution. I don't know what happened after that. His servants were strictly ordered not to approach the dining room. Shannon, have you ever met this person called Beatrice before? Yeah, Battler isn't good at normal chess and refuses to learn the rules of witch chess. You can't lose if you refuse to play. I mean, that's exactly what Battler's doing, so... He's not entering into a scenario where he's physically capable of losing. Because all his success condition is just to say, fuck you, I don't believe you. In the face of literally anything. You like the last episode of DIY? Yeah, that's nice. I'd like to, I'm gonna finish the show I'm currently watching and then pitch DIY as the next show. That's my plan right now. So I'm looking forward to it. So has Shannon met this person called Beatrice? Yes, she has. I don't know. Oh boy, here we go. That was a slightly odd way to say it. It didn't quite sound as if she was saying her memory was hazy. For us servants, Beatrice is the second master of the mansion. Some people say... Some people say we've spread that rumor because of the master's influence. But even when I just started working here, the story of Beatrice-sama was already being whispered of. I heard about it before. If you don't show her respect, you'll get cursed, and at least one servant actually did meet an accident, right? Yes. It's true, some people believe more than others. I believe respect for that sort of thing shouldn't be forgotten, so I've never doubted she exists. I vaguely believe that shadowy being called the witch existed. And then the witch, whose existence was so shadowy and obscure, actually showed herself and entered openly through the entrance hall? Is that what happened? I don't know. I don't know anything. When you brought her dinner, did you talk about anything? Oh, nothing. Shannon, providing a lot of useful evidence of witchcraft and magic to George here, where she's like, did you talk about anything? She's like, no, didn't talk about anything. Have you met her before? Who knows? Couldn't tell you. Thanks, Shannon. I know why you're not telling him, but I think it's kind of funny because he's asking questions and you're like, and he's like, could she be magical? And she's like, ask her yourself. Actually, if she said ask yourself, that would work better, but she's just like, nope, we didn't talk about shit. Nope. I'm rejecting everything. A witch that eats food somehow doesn't sound so realistic. Maybe after all, it's just someone who knows about the witch legend on the island, someone who's taking on Beatrice's name. I think you've probably come to respect Beatrice and think of her as something like a guardian god of the mansion. Probably. When a person actually appeared going by that name, maybe you were a little disturbed? I feel sorry for George. He's working on bad evidence. He's working off bad evidence as Shannon has evidence to the contrary that she exists. And has existed for some time, but she's not telling him anything, so... She's not telling him anything, so she doesn't expose why she knows Beatrice, and that, like, she apparently used magic to get them together. I can understand why she's doing it, but I feel sorry for George, because he's just, like, acting and speaking off of bad information, which is kind of awkward. Like, from a reader's perspective, where you're just like, ooh, that's awkward. He's completely wrong, but he doesn't know it. That's right. I guess that's the case. Even more interesting because the things they spoke about, like with her planning on killing everyone, she's not bothering to tell him or warn him that they might be in danger. She's kind of just like, oh, we didn't talk about anything. Like, thanks, asshole. Like, if I was in George's shoes, I'd want to know that, like, Beatrice claimed that fucking almost everyone's gonna be dying on the island the next 2 days. That'd be nice to know, Shannon. I guess that must be the case. George was slightly at a loss for what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Maybe not Genji, but even the youngest servants had been ruthlessly questioned as to whether they knew anything about this Beatrice person. Thinking like that, he tried to cheer her up somehow. But surely, just like Maria and Jessica, Shannon was unable to fully hide the agitation caused by the sudden visit of this person calling themselves the Golden Witch. He'd been so sure that was the case, but George probably had no way of looking into Shannon's heart. She was bitter and sad. The door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that, and that meant the demise of everything, even if she accepted the ring from George. They'd never be married now. You know, in the first place, did furniture like her even have the right to be married? Even if the witch hadn't come to signal their demise, wasn't their relationship fated to fail sooner or later? Had she turned her gaze to focus solely on those fun days spent with George while purposefully closing her eyes to the sad reality? Funny, because based on the way Ava says, if you work on it... Funny, because the way Ava says it is like, commitment will result in a strong relationship and you'll be fine for each other. So in theory, her doubts are what would cause the relationship to fall apart, right? Based on Ava's premise, the lack of commitment and doubt would cause the relationship to flounder. You haven't really looked well for a while now.
Georgie-san.
Georgie-san.
婚約って何でしょうか?
What does it mean to be engaged?
Huh? 結婚の約束をするという意味だよ。
It means making a promise to marry.
でも、僕はその意味において、結婚と同じものだと考えてる。
It means the same as marriage. It's like a promise to marry. Like that. It signals an intention to marry. It's a signaled intention to marry, right? That you're giving to other people. That you're like showing to other people as a public announcement of your interest and attachment, I guess, right?
本当なら、僕は今すぐにでも君をめとって家へ連れ帰りたい。
To be honest, I want to take you home as my wife right away. Yeah, I mean, I think that works, right? Are you promised to marry? No, you're not promised to marry because then it would be something you couldn't call off, or in theory you shouldn't ever call off. It's a signaled intention. A publicly signaled intention to marry where you're displaying the significance of the relationship, right? You're like saying, this relationship's important to me and I intend to make it, I'm intending to solidify it into a lifelong commitment in the near future. As I think you're not married, until you're, theoretically if you're married, in principle, let's say, not theoretically, in principle, you're not supposed to break a marriage, right? In principle. Obviously, there's obvious reasons to leave a marriage or for a marriage to break down, but like the concept is that it's going to last a lifetime. And yeah. It's not a legal commitment. Yeah, it's not a promise or a commitment. It's just it's signaled intention. I think that works the best.
でも僕は今修行中の身で、
the important
まだまだ自らの城を
the
築き上げ
important
る
bits
力量がない。
are not that you're telling the person. The important thing to say is also that it's not important that you're telling the other person you want to marry them, especially not these days. It's that you're telling other people you want to marry the person. Because like a lot of the time these days, it's not like some spontaneous, oh my goodness, will you marry me? It's planned both by you and the bride, right? Like typically they're already aware, like in this situation, Shannon is already aware she's going to be receiving an engagement ring from George at this meeting, or in theory will be. She's expecting it. So the engagement is not telling her anything. It might be a signal from George to her of his relative seriousness about this. But it's not a commitment in any way, shape, or form. It's more like an announcement to the rest of the world, right? That you intend to do that. That you're seriously considering a lifelong commitment. Alright. Right now I'm in the middle of training. I'm still a long way away from having the capacity to create my own castle. Oh, we're doing the castle speech. Okay.
だからこそ一人前になって初めて胸を張って君を連れ帰りたいんだ。
That's why I want to take you home with me with my head held high only after I've become a full adult. He's like 23.
それは遠い未来の話じゃない。
I'm not talking about the
ほ
distant
んの
future.
3年ほど待ってほしいというだけの
I
話
just
なん
want
だ。
you to wait a short 3 years.
でも僕は だからといって3年間、自分の気持ちを偽っていたくない。
But that doesn't mean I want to lie about my feelings for another 3 years.
だから、婚約指輪を贈ろうと決めたんだ。
So I decided to give you an engagement ring.
それは、男と
Might
し
be
て
a shameful
情
reason
け
as a
ない理
man.
由かもしれない。
He wants 3 years of engagement. I'd be like, are you serious? What's the reasoning for 3 years? And his reasoning is that he's not successful enough if he's not doing it in 3... If it's going to take him 3 years, he's not going to be successful enough? Okay.
妻と仕事を両立できないから待ってほしいなんて理由での婚約なんて情けないものかもしれない。
Maybe it's shameful to get engaged because I want you to wait. Since I can't support my work and wife at the same time yet.
でも僕は決して
But I'll
君を
definitely.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
ジョージさんにとって婚約指輪が恋人に贈るプレゼントの一つではないということが分かりました。
I understand that to you, George-san, an engagement ring means something different than one of many presents you'd give to a lover.
当然だよ。
Of course it's different.
婚約指輪はただのアクセサリーじゃない。
An engagement ring is not a simple accessory.
尊い約束を指輪の形で残す。
It's an oath between lovers, a noble promise left in the form of a ring. Are you not confusing marriage with engagement?
だとすると、すぐにも結婚するなら不要なものということになりますよね。
So if we were to get married right away, it'd be completely meaningless? That's why I said it's not a commitment. It's not a solid commitment. It's a signaled intention to have a commitment. Because A, you can break off an engagement, and well, it's, you know, heartbreaking. It's not the end of the world, and most people think it's reasonable. Most people think it's completely reasonable. For basically any reason, no matter how trivial. They're just like, well, it's your choice, alright. So it's not a serious commitment at that point. But alright. George is treating it like it's marriage. I feel like he's confused marriage and an engagement, but that's fine. We have different perceptions of what it means, I
婚
suppose.
約指輪じゃない。
Then it wouldn't be an engagement ring.
結婚指輪として渡すよ。
I'd give it to you as a wedding ring.
どちらにせよ、君に指輪を贈ることに変わりは
Either
ない
way,
の
I'd
さ。
still be giving you a ring.
この女は俺のものだから誰も手を出すなよっていう売約札みたいなものですね。
So it's a sold sign, like saying this woman's mine, nobody can touch her.
いや、その、
No, that's
そんな
not
意
what
味じ
I...
ゃ。
George knew he was weak by nature. When he'd been captivated by Shannon and had sworn to become an excellent man, he'd also sworn to throw away that weak part of himself. So even if he had to be blunt about it, he chose to answer a little roughly. He was sure doing so would bolster and reassure Shannon.
いや、その通りかもしれない。
No, that may be true.
さよ。
Saya,
君を僕の妻にする。
I'll make you my
他の
wife.
誰にもやらない。
I'm not giving you to anyone else.
僕だけのものにする。
I'll make you
だ
mine
から
alone.
誰も手を出すな。
Oh, no one will lay a hand
そ
on
うい
you.
う指輪だよ。
That's what this
間
ring
違い
is?
ない。
Without a doubt.
ありがとうございます。ジョージさん、
Thank you so much, George-san.
本当に嬉しいです。
I'm truly happy. And then George-san. If it was decided by fate this engagement ring, this promise could never be fulfilled, would you still give it to me? Shannon tried to ask that, but she swallowed her words because George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He said to him an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting the ring had a significance far more sacred than a promise to marry.
だから、
So,
僕はあえてこれを婚
I'll
約
stop
指輪と
calling
呼
this
ぶのをや
an
めにす
engagement
る。
ring.
今からこれは婚約じゃない。
From now on, this isn't
結
an
婚
engagement.
指輪だ。
It's a wedding ring.
いいのでしょうか。
Is that really
神
okay?
様の祝福もなく私たちが結ばれたことを勝手に宣言しても
That's actually an okay approach. I think I'm okay with this opinion. I don't think it's the way it works in law or where the way everyone considers it, but I think I'm okay with this opinion on engagement rings. If you're saying the engagement ring is an announcement that you're marrying someone but haven't gone through with the formal process of doing so, I think that's an okay way of taking engagement rings, right? It's a different approach, and I'm not sure a lot of people will go with that, but it seems fair. It seems like a fair assessment of how you want the engagement ring to function, and if that's how you want it to function, I think that's okay. It's okay to proclaim we're married without God's blessing? Yeah, sure. It's enough to tell God, Father, and Mother about it afterwards. We'll tell them all we've been married, and no one will be able to undo it. George-san. I'm not saying this because of a momentary emotion. I'm not just looking at you as how you are now. I'm looking at the you of tomorrow, of the next day. I'm gazing at you as you'll be in old age in the future as I say this. You're always talking about that, George. Yeah. About how you want to spend your old age slowly and surrounded by healthy children and grandchildren. Yeah. And at that time, an older you will be beside me. That's what I expect, or what I perceive. Yes. That day will surely come. Will it? Surely come? Yes. Surely. Definitely. And this ring proves it without words. Please. Shall we? Here it is. George, thinking he was being told to show her the ring, hurriedly took the ring out of the box. Even though he'd practiced so much, he hadn't been able to do it cool. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. In her straight and direct gaze were vague tears and a smile. She focused her eyes on George's eyes, or on something she could see beyond his eyes. Please, show me that future. Yeah. I'll show you, surely. I promise. I actually like this picture of Shannon. She looks cute here. Yeah, George thinking Shannon's gonna be shy and secure. Meanwhile, she's like thinking, hey, we're all fucked. She's like, oh no, he's not being super awkward. She's like, I was gonna accept anyway, but he's really making it hard to say no. And she's like, damn, I'm double accepting. I'll promise it, not just old age. After we die too. Oh boy, he's still going. Even when we become spirits, we'll always be together. Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring worthy of blessing the two of them. George said the line that he'd practiced over and over again inside his head. I want you to put this ring on whatever finger you like and have that be your answer. It's by tomorrow morning. Shannon smiled and took the ring. Even with a completely natural movement, she put it on the ring finger of her left hand. It really looked like such a natural, ordinary movement, and for a while George was stunned. R.I.P. in peace. This is my answer. George then. No. Sayo. Even when we become spirits, we'll always be together. George said. Oh boy, that goes badly. There was no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two who were married proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today. Well, that was a touching scene. Made perhaps a little bit less touching by the concern that they're all gonna die. It's like, oh, that's so touching, and sitting in my head is like, they're dead, right? They're dead? They're dead? Nei-san, you're a fool. Is that so? Even though you're furniture? Even though you're furniture? Not furniture? Not anymore?
嘘だ。どうして自分を騙すんだよ。人間になんか絶対になれないって知ってるくせに。
Even though you know you can never become
黄
human.
金鏡へ行かなきゃ人間になれないって知ってるくせに。
You know you can't become human unless you go to the Golden Land. Dude, shut the fuck up, Kenan.
どうして黄金鏡へ生きる約束を自分で保護に。
Knowing that, why'd you abandon the promise that'd let you go there?
そっか。指輪を受け取ったら、ベアトリーチェ様との約束がなかったことになっちゃうんだったね。
Right. By accepting the ring, that promise with Beatrice-sama comes to nothing, doesn't it?
ごめんね。
Sorry.
あとは、僕も姉さんも、ジョージ様も親方様もみんな条件は同じ
From
だ。
now on, I, you, George, the master, everyone else, they're all under the same
13
conditions.
人が生贄にされる。
13 people are gonna
5
die,
人しか黄金鏡に招かれない。
and 5 will be invited to the Golden
その
Land.
一石を
And you
自分で蹴るなんて。
rejected a place yourself?
おかしいね。
That's odd.
未練があるのは、カノン君の方みたいだね。
It looks like you're the one with regrets, Canon-kun.
未練があるのは姉さんの方じゃないか。
You're the one with regrets, aren't you, Nason? And she's like, nope, get fucked, Canon.
婚約しちゃったんだろ。
You got engaged,
果たせ
right?
ない運命なのを知りながら。
Even though you knew it was a fate that would never be fulfilled?
ずっとずっと永遠に一緒だよって約束した。
I promised we'd always be together for eternity.
だからね、
You know what?
その瞬間に私たちの永遠は完成したの。
In that instant, our eternity was
た
completed.
とえ私たちが生贄になってしまうとして
Even if
も
we become sacrifices, it's already completed.
完成してるの。だからいい
Oh,
の。
it's okay.
未練があるのはむしろカノン君の方。
Canon, you're actually the one who has regrets.
私たちは家具なんでしょ。
We're furniture,
私た
right?
ちはどういう結果になろ
We'll
うと
be
も
free no matter the
大
result.
変なら黄金鏡に行けるか行けないかなんて
So it shouldn't matter whether we go to the Golden Land or not. True. He's eaten his own words now, because he said she's furniture, and she's like, well, if I'm furniture, why the fuck does it matter if I go to the Golden Land, bitch?
カノン君は黄
And
金
yet
鏡
you're
へ行
set
くこ
on
とに
going
固執してる。どうしても人間になりたいんでしょ。
You want to become a human no
どう
matter
し
what?
て
Why?
人間になりたいからだよ。
I want to become
家具は
human.
もう嫌だ。
I had enough of being furniture.
どうして？
Why?
僕も
I wanted to fall in love too. Did you? Because I think the witch offered you that and you told her to go fuck herself. And your girlfriend tried to... and someone asked you out and you said, fuck no, I'm furniture. Get the fuck away from me. I gotta protect my virginity, you evil hag, or whatever he said. I don't know. Tears were coming from Canon's eyes, and he
お
howled.
嬢様のことが
I liked
好き
Milady.
だった。そしてあの日のお嬢様の姿を見て、
And after seeing her
もっと
that
好きに
day,
な
I
った。
started liking her even more.
そしてお嬢様も僕のことが好きだと
And
分
when I
かっ
heard
て、
Milady also liked me, I was
すご
really
くでも
happy.
僕は核で
But
お
I'm
嬢様の気持
furniture.
ちを受け止める
I
ことは
can't
できなくて
accept her feelings. Oh no.
それが勘違いだ。私たち
You're
は
wrong.
家具かもし
We
れな
might be
い。
furniture.
人間以下かもし
We
れない。
might be less than
でも
human.
恋をする資格が
But
ない
that
わけじゃ
doesn't
な
mean
かった。
we aren't qualified to love. That's a cute
添い遂げ
phrase.
られぬ思いならない方がマシだって思った。
I thought if these feelings would never come to anything, I'd be better off not having them.
いつ
Alright.
か自分も消え去る日が来て、それがきっとお嬢様を傷つけるなんて勝手に
I
決めつ
decided
けて。
eventually I'll disappear and it definitely hurt her.
違うんだ。
That's
僕
wrong.
が怯えていただけなんだ。
You were just frightened, you say. Oh, I see.
僕は永遠になれない恋ならしない方がマシだって。
You were afraid,
怯
thinking
えて
any
ただ
love
けなんだ。
that couldn't be eternal was best avoided? Again, canon. Love is inherently not eternal because people are mortal and die. People are mortal and perish. Therefore, love is not eternal, even if you assume it's perfect. Even if you assume it's otherwise perfect.
セミは生涯のうち数週間にも満たないわずかな期間で恋をして消えてい
Though
く
their
んだっ
lives
て。
last only a few weeks, cicadas fall in love and then vanish.
数週間で終わる恋だからと恋をしないセミはいないんじゃないかな。
You'll never find a cicada that refuses to fall in love simply because it'll end in a few weeks. I think that's a good response. That was the response I gave, right? I said people are mortal. Why would you say you're not gonna love? Why would you not do that if you know it's limited in duration? Unless you don't think it's of value, right? If you don't think it's of value or worth pursuing, then that's perfectly acceptable, but I don't think that's his impression. It seemed Cannon was still muttering his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up with his sobs. You don't think cicadas fall in love? True, I don't know if cicadas are capable of experiencing emotions, such as love. In fact, my current opinion is that I doubt they can. But that's not the point. I think her metaphor works. That witch is detestable. Why is she detestable? If she gives you something you want and says it doesn't last forever, that's true. And she doesn't say when it will end. Why'd she plant the feelings in you? The best part about this is that the witch didn't necessarily plant the feelings in them. She might have just told them that she did. Like, the best part about this is that I don't think Shannon's initial interest in George was caused by the witch. So, I don't think Cannon's initial interest in her was necessarily caused. Like, I think she might be, like, pulling the strings very, very gently, but honestly, I don't know how much the witch actually has inserted herself into this relationship drama. Like, it might literally just be like the placebo effect, where she's like, it's a magical item that'll make someone fall in love with you, and she's like, fuck, it does nothing. It just makes them more confident it'll work out. Yeah, Cannon. Maybe the witch is detestable because she's gonna murder you, not because she helped you realize your feelings. Exactly. Exactly. It's like, based on Shannon's experience, the witch didn't do shit for her. Honestly, the witch just gave her confidence that the thing wasn't gonna fail, and maybe, like, the things the witch would have to do are all, like, pushing Ava to not be a complete bitch and, like, reject the kid. Like, those are the things that not to force him into his marriage. That's what the witch might have done, but she didn't do shit about those feelings. Like, from our visible point of view, she hasn't done shit about that. That's the best part. That's the best part, is that all she did was give them an item that maybe made them confident or think about love. Like, she can still be a witch and do something non-magical, right? She could even make the item out of magic and it could just be a regular-ass item. Doesn't matter. Why'd she plant these feelings in me? If only she hadn't pulled that bizarre prank, I wouldn't have paid her any notice. Oh, it's so good. Cry me a river, Cannon. Beatrice-sama is detestable. Shannon did more for Cannon falling in love with Jessica than Beatrice did by hooking them both up, yeah. Absolutely, like, I don't think Beatrice did too much. I don't think Beatrice was heavily involved in that. She might be involved in, like, if there's, like, some direct threat to it that needs, like, magical intervention, but in the cases like this, it's like she just gave them a confidence boost and said, go off, do your thing. And the best part is they'd never be able to test if that wasn't the case. If that was the case, because Beatrice's positions, Beatrice's claims are all things that will be unprovable because they're going to be dead, right? Like, if they're all going to be dead within a year, and she's like, oh yeah, your relationship's going to fall apart in 10 years, like, it doesn't fucking matter what she says, whether it's true or not, because you're going to be dead. Make you cry bitter tears. She's so detestable. She played games with your fate. But I don't think things went as the witch expected, after all. Knowing love isn't a regret that ties you to life, it's the destination we're supposed to reach in our journey through life. Okay, interesting phrase. Well now, Cal. promise you worked so hard for has come to nothing.
さてさて、
Very well
これ
then.
にて全ての駒の条件は同じよ。
With this, the conditions for all pieces are the same.
駒は18。生き残る5人は誰？
13 will be sacrifices. Yeah, she's back to her classic outfit. Who will the 5 survivors be?
それとも
Or else
誰かがこの儀式を打ち壊
will
してみ
someone
せ
else
るか？
destroy this ceremony?
誰が？どうやって？これはチェスプロブレムではない。
It's not a chess
対
problem.
等なゲームだ。
The game on an equal footing. I mean, there is a solution.
わらわだけが一方的に詰めるわけではない。
I won't be cornering you
そなた
one-sidedly.
はわらわの爪から懸命に逃れ続け、
You'll be able to
引き分け
frankly
無
escape
効
my
試合に持
advances,
ち込むことがで
forcing
き
a
る。
tie. An invalid match.
まあせいぜいそなたにできるのはそれを延々と繰り返すのが関の山よ。
At any rate, I doubt you can manage more than repeating that over and
そ
over.
しておそらくそれはそなたにとって
It probably won't be that
そう
difficult for
む
you.
しかしそなたは永遠に続く無効試合にやがて精神をすり減らし、やが
However,
ては
this
精神
invalid
を
match will
殺
continue
す。
forever until it eventually wears down your mind and kills it. I mean, if you say it's easy to force a draw, and I mean, there's still the possibility of victory by them finding the treasure and saying, get the fuck out of here, Beatrice, you don't get shit. So I think she's playing with fire here, as there's a chance she loses. Infinitely small, but if you put everything on the spectrum of infinites, then it's a possibility that she loses once, and she only needs to lose once. Bad play, Beatrice.
その時にこそ敗北を受け入れ、
That's
わらわ
when
に
you
屈
accept
服
your
する
defeat
こ
and
とに
surrender
な
to
る
me.
であろう。対等なゲームと言った理由、
There's a reason I said it was a game on equal
そ
footing.
れはわらわにも敗北の条
The
件を
rules
設
to my
け
loss
てあ
have
るこ
also
と
been
だ。
established.
負けのないゲームほど
Nothing as
退
boring
屈
as
な
a
も
game
の
you
は
can't
ない
lose,
ので
right?
な。わらわを任す
Answer how to beat me?
それはわ
That
らわ
would
の
be
肖像画に捧げられた
the epitaph
あ
that
の
stands
碑文よ。
as an offering to my portrait.
あれこそは黄金鏡の扉の開き方にして同時に儀式を打ち破る鍵でもある。
Okay. It's both the way to open the door to the Golden Land and the key to destroying my ceremony. Your precious ceremony.
わらわは碑文に従い儀式を完遂する。
I'll try to complete the ceremony in accordance with the epitaph.
そなたは碑文の謎を解き儀式を打ち破りわらわを滅ぼす。
You try to solve the riddle of the epitaph, destroy the ceremony, and overthrow
碑
me.
文に隠された謎を解きわらわが金像に値し莫大なる黄金のありかを暴いてみせよ。
Solve the riddle hidden in the epitaph and expose the location of the vast sum of gold I gave Kinzo.
こたびのゲーム
Oh,
は
outfit change again.
どういう結末を見せるのやら。
What result will this game show
健
us?
闘を期待するぞ。
I expect a good fight, okay?
わらわを楽しませてみせろよ。後ろ宮バトラー。
Entertain me, Yoshiromiya battler. Good luck, good luck. Ooh, a chapel. Alright. They have one of these on the island? They just casually Are you serious? They casually have a church with how many pews? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of pews, bare minimum. Bro, there's literally a pew for each person in their family. Each person in their family could lie on their own pew, and if there's one more in front that we can't see, everyone would have it. Before including the priest. Who needs a church this big in their house? In their house! Remember, there's like only 2 main buildings. I have no objections. Please tell me this is a flashback to their wedding. Natsuhi and I acknowledge it.
信じられないし信じたくないけれど
Can't believe it. I don't want
そ
to.
れが
This is the truth,
現
isn't
実なの
it?
ね。
夏日
Natsuhi.
言葉を少し選びなさい。
Choose your words more carefully.
彼女は当家の最高の賓客なのだ。
She's this family's most honored guest. Dear God, it's true. Oh God. This is actually in their house. Okay. I also acknowledge it. Oh, another shot. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8! Hey, there's more than enough seats for everybody. There are mansions with their own small chapels that are sometimes bigger than a village church. True. I assume this is for weddings, right? This has got to be a building built specifically for weddings, because there's no reason they'd need a chapel this large. I mean, they don't even have a priest on staff. Right? They have the doctor. They have Shannon. They have Cannon. They have Kumasawa. They have whatever his name is, the cook. And they have Genji. There's no one on staff. This is literally built for wedding ceremonies. Gouda, right? Gouda. Oh, so acknowledge it. Can't argue back. Yeah. I acknowledge it. I have no complaints. Can't believe you actually have my honest respect. Me too. Incredible. I genuinely respect you. I have to acknowledge it. I acknowledge it too. I still can't believe it. Still, what can I do? You've proven devils. It's your victory. Okay, Beatrice.
そなたが好む証明不能への便利な言い訳だったが
The devil's proof was a convenient excuse. You liked using to handle unprovable matters, but now it's become your mortal enemy, has it?
いじめるなよ、魔女様。
Oh, don't torture me, mighty witch.
俺はもうあんたを認めてるぜ。
I've already acknowledged you. I resign. Are they playing card games or some shit?
キリエ。まだ異論があるか
You still have objections?
わらわは全員一致しか好まぬ。
I must have everyone in
お前
agreement.
一人がわらわの存在を認めぬならば
You alone don't acknowledge my existence? As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started getting frantic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Curious lightly closed her eyes and after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth.
ごめんなさい。
My apologies.
降参よ。
I resign. Only Kyrie had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, this had only resulted in her refusing to accept the truth for a short period of time. The truth being that the being that was before their eyes couldn't be denied. Devils had already been proven.
私も認めるわ。
I also
あ
acknowledge
なたはベアトリーチェ。
you are Beatrice.
後ろ宮家の顧問錬金術師。
The Ashiromiya family
そし
alchemist.
て偉大なる魔法の使
And a
い。
user of great magic.
魔女で
Alright.
あることを認めざるを得ない。
I must acknowledge you're a witch. Curious. Alright. A curious scene. I wonder what she did to prompt the witchcraft part. Maybe we'll find out next chapter. Or next scene. Let's see. It's pouring. Is it bedtime yet? Is anyone dying? What are we at right now? Want to know what's happening? We're at the halls. There's gonna be there might be a bit of panic if they think it's real magic and they have to solve the epitaph. Who's best girl? You put it to a vote. Beatrice and Shannon lose to Jessica. Jessica's best girl. Can't confirm for base. The real question is, where's Natsuhi? I thought someone said they liked Natsuhi best, and someone else liked Eva, and you didn't include Natsuhi or Eva in the list? What about poor Rosa? I don't think anyone would vote Rosa. Looks like we're passing into the evening. I recall someone in chat saying they like Natsuki the best, so I'm kind of surprised. But oh well. Someone with taste voted Jessica. Good man, good man. All right. So if they believe she's a witch and have the letter, George voted for Shannon for sure. Well, if you know someone thinks Natsuki's the best, why would you include a joke instead of a real character that someone thinks is the best? Maybe you're trying to consolidate votes to get a rigged result? Naruto. It's like a biased questionnaire, right? Why it's like asking why do you think no one's ever landed on the moon? The question itself is loaded with the implication that no one's landed on the moon. Right? Right? What's the sound that always fills my ears? Panic, panic. What's the sound that always fills my ears? Lots of panic. Is it the sound of the rain or the sound of a waterfall? Could it be radio static? If not, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through my body. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating through me, telling me I'm still alive. Is it morning? Light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the position he'd been in when he woke up, still sitting in the chair, looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel through his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 a.m. on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he always woke up at exactly this time, as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think of this as something to boast about, but he told himself that as long as he could manage it, his health couldn't be that bad. Mornings come, which means... It appears I've avoided becoming one of the first sacrifices. Was I merely lucky when the roulette was spun, or is this the fruit of my efforts? How irritating. I can't tell the difference, but I mustn't be bothered by such trivialities. Kinzo was struck by a faint desire to see beyond the study door. After all, he might find the traces of someone's veins struggle to break through the door. A sign someone tried to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices. Humans are cheap creatures. Though everything is ultimately decided by God. He's still going. When humans are given good fortune, they arrogantly feel it was due to their own ability. That was why he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. The very desire was human, and that's why Kinzo did not check. He often rejected desires that came to him because he was human, and by doing so he could be immersed in a feeling of sufficiency as though he himself had become a being that surpassed humans. Camping during the death game, classic Dan Blackmore. Nice. Yeah. He's certainly just chilling out camping. I mean, that's the best strategy, right? Just same with a Battle Royale, right? You just find a secluded spot, get some materials, and hide it. Wait until the fucking zone. Wait until the fucking zone zeroes in. You just do that all game. Only needs a sniper. He recognized human desires for what they were and guarded against them. Things a human would want to do, he resisted. This eccentricity and rebellious nature surely gave him a rare genius, making it possible for him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ashiromiya family in a single generation.
Beatrice.
Oh, then, Beatrice.
お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。
What were the 6 pieces
そ
you
し
took?
て次なる手はどう来る
And
の
what
か。
will your next move be? I mean, honestly, Kinzo, I got a question for you. If you're confident your wards work, why not bring everyone into your magical vault? Or bring several people into your magical vault? Just to see what happens when you can deny her 18, her 6
楽し
people.
ませてもらうぞ。
Entertain me.
私の守りは完璧だ。
Perfect! He said his defense is perfect. I'm curious if he managed that.
前回のような無様はさらさぬぞ。
I will not shame myself like last time. Alright. The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. Who's missing? Goda was most enthusiastic. He lived! Goda lives, boys! Alright, during the family conference, he'd been told to concentrate his efforts especially on cooking, and he'd been specially exempted from several tasks that servants must normally do. Goda, who was a show-off, seemed to be feeling particularly superior because of that. He let Genji and the rest prepare the rest of the mansion, and worked on making breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Kanon as they carried out various tasks. Shannon, Kanon, Genji, and Goda survived. That's interesting. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference continued into the early hours of the morning. It wouldn't have been odd if this year's conference had been the same. Considering the possibility they were still having a discussion inside, she knocked. There was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. Any bodies? Good morning. Is anyone there? The room was cold and the conference seems to have ended a long time before that. There was a tea set on the table from which they'd probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up. Cleaning the tea was the servant's job. If the family members were extra generous and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face, so it was truly a pleasant act of kindness for the family to do only this much. As she approached the table to clean it, she noticed something like a memo had been left near the utensils and cups. Since it was right next to the tea set, Shannon picked it up, naturally thinking it's a memo for the servant doing the cleaning. Written was not a request, nor was it thanks for preparing the tea. There was just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it aloud. Chapel. They gave us a new room, because they knew we'd be bored of seeing the same rooms. Thank you. Or thank you for giving us some reason. A small sound kept repeating over and over. Normally that sound would have been too trivial to be worth caring about. If only I could stop hearing it soon, I could go back to sleep right away, she thought vaguely. It's an alarm. No matter how much time passed, the sound didn't end. Repeated again and again. Shut up. Who is it? Bang on the door this whole time? As soon as she realized that, she woke up. Someone was knocking, and then she noticed it wasn't just a knock, but a voice as well.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Good morning. Rosa lives. Wait. I'm coming, now. It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it wasn't even 7 o'clock yet. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? He felt their sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this premonition of misfortune. Although Genji was a servant, Rosa had known him since her childhood days, so even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas, she opened the door a crack and answered. Yeah, it's a big red flag. If Genji's knocking for her, that's pretty bad. That must mean that everyone in order is dead above her? That would be interesting. All the adults but Rosa are dead? So like Kraus, Natsuhi, Ava, whatever his name is, the husband, Rudolph, and Kyrie? Kyrie? That'd be unfortunate, but it is 6 people. Alright. Let's find out what Genji's news is. Good morning. I apologize for waking you this early. Did something happen? Yes. At the chapel, actually. Genji whispered something into Rosa's ear. All of them were at the chapel and Rosa was there as well? Yeah, she might have left early though. I mean, that's my assumption, is she left early and the rest all died. I mean, that might be their concession, right? Like, they claim to choose a witch, so let's take it this way. It's like, they all go to the chapel, they sit down with Beatrice, and she's like, a bunch of you are gonna die tonight. Either that or I kill your kids. And you're like, and they're like, wait, what? And she's like, bitch, I'm a witch. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And they're just like, fuck it, I can see it. I'll die for this. That might be the way they're going. Maybe that's what happened. We don't know exactly what happened in the chapel, but maybe that's the way they went. That's kind of what they're implying, right? Like, they imply that they're all just conceding the game. Yeah, they might have just been playing cards. Who knows? She's a witch. She's, like, way too good at cards. Or that might have been something that happened. Because Rosa shouldn't be contacted this early in the morning unless there's a really big problem, like she can't find any of the other adults. For a second, it seemed Rosa couldn't understand what she'd been told. After having it repeated several times, she realized apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, changed her clothes quickly, and followed Genji toward the mansion. We haven't seen any of the kids yet either, right? But I assume Battler isn't just boop dead. Right? That wouldn't really be Beatrice's way of playing the game. The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind it a short walk away. It had been built at the same time as the mansion, so though its walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa dashed through the rain along with Genji. Just like the previous night, the rain fell in earnest. Eventually, the chapel came into sight from beyond a thin grove. Just looking at it from the outside, it seemed a place of dazzling beauty where a pair of young lovers might want to get married. However, Kinzo apparently viewed it as a very sacred place, but Rosa and her siblings had been given strict instructions not to approach it unnecessarily. Although they were all grown up now, approaching the chapel for any reason would still make them feel guilty. And also afraid, as if their father might get angry and hit them in the face. What's that? Someone who abuses their children who's also been abused? Pattern of abuse, by the way. Really common. The servant silhouettes could be seen in front of the chapel's entrance. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon. Which meant that all the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Genji had spoken to Rosa, telling her what the situation was. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she definitely hadn't been able to understand. It was probably the same for all the servants gathered here as well. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on. Marking on the chapel door? On the door at the entrance to the chapel, I called it. Was something very large, drawn with a creepy, stringy paint that made one think of blood. Something like a creepy magic circle. What? What is this? What was it drawn here? The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth. My apologies. We don't usually enter this building, so we don't know when it was made. Who was first to find it? Shannon was. When I went to the dining hall to clean up the tea set, I found a memo with chapel written on it. Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand. Whose handwriting is this? It isn't Nissan's or Nasan's. After that, you came here and found this, right? Yes. Rosa-sama, look at this. What?
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween for... What? Cannon pointed at a single line of English writing below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she thought it was just another part of the magic circle. There, the following words were written in English. Happy Halloween for Maria. Nice. Nice. Happy Halloween for Maria? The creepy magic circle was for Maria. Happy Halloween. Yesterday, only one person had said Happy Halloween to Maria. The key phrase matched. It was the Golden Witch Beatrice, who knows the English, in English reading. Cool. Not cool. And knows what Halloween is, but everyone knew who. What about Mario? You should be sleeping with our cousins, right? Did you check? My apologies. We just now realized Maria-sama's name was written here. We still have not checked. Send Shannon to check, or Cannon to check. Quickly. I'll check on Mario and come back. Tell Kraus-Nisan and the rest. After that, follow their instructions. That's the problem, so. After saying that much, Rosa noticed something's odd. Her own rank in the family conference is the lowest of the 4 siblings. Did she just notice they're missing? Why had she been the only one called during an abnormal situation like this when the other siblings hadn't been? There we go, she just noticed they're dead. Even if Maria's name had popped up. Could it be? What? Yes. We tried to contact Kraus-sama. We couldn't find him. Madam was not in her room. Judging by the condition of the sheets, she might not have returned to her bed at all last night. Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back. Did you check inside the chapel? Not yet. We tried, but... The lock to the chapel is special. The master key will not work. There's a single key that can open it, but that key is missing from the key box. She didn't want to get closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could. Rosa readied herself and approached, then tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock. We searched to see if there was a window to enter through, but I think we'd have to break one of the windows if we wanted to check inside. Oh, is this going to be the puzzle? This is going to be the puzzle for Battler, right? They're all dead. The key is inside the chapel. And it's locked from the outside with the key that's on the inside. Is that going to be the puzzle for Battler that proves that it's magic? I'm trying to figure out. Beatrice is still trying to prove to him it's magic, right? So, like, what's the puzzle? But, like, there's got to be some reason that they picked the chapel. And I guess they're explaining the reason here, right? So the chapel's locked from the outside, the key is on the inside, and it's like hung up. It's like on someone's person or something like that. And you're like, how did this person get in here? That seems impossible. That's going to be like her next pitch, right? It's like an impossible murder, right? Are we doing another impossible murder? I'm guessing that's how it's going to go. It's going to be in some position that couldn't reasonably just be like chucked in there. What do you think? There's no way I can give you approval to do something like that. Wait. Father's precious chapel. Ask Father. At that time, the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right. When I met the witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yeah, there's no mistake. She did hand it over, and when Maria tried to open it, the witch told her not to do it, and then she surely said, the time to open it will come soon. Rosa was sure there could be no mistake. The envelope Maria received was... labeled? No? I didn't think it was labeled. So they didn't read any of the witch's notes? I'm not sure if they read the note. After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps. She's going to try and steal Maria's letter. Softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores of typical of young people. There were 4 children, and Maria was there, sleeping soundly. After breathing a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. She always liked carrying her treasures around with her. She was probably emulating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Oh, you think the letter's gonna have the key in it? That's a good thought. I thought it was just a flat letter, but if it had the key, that would be crazy, right? A sealed letter given the day before? That would be even better if we're bringing up this letter. I thought the letter was just a ticket to the fucking golden room and it was going to be like completely irrelevant. But this is going to be pretty crazy if that's the case. That would be pretty cool. That would also be better than... I think that would actually be better than hiding it on the person, right? On the person of someone inside. Because then you'd be like, okay, I saw this sealed letter get given to my daughter. It's still sealed. How is the chapel opened? How did 6 bodies get inside there? That'd be great. That'd be pretty good. Yeah, until they brought up that letter, not a chance, but yeah, now that you mention it, that might be possible. I was assuming it was just an actual piece of paper like the previous ones were, but it might be a bad assumption. Good call. Everything on the inside was just junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy occult items, notebooks describing things of that nature, and so on. Rosa had never been happy to see her daughter walking around with things like that, which weren't girlish at all. However, trying to force Maria to stop resulted in a big fight, so she let it be. And there it is, the letter. Here, this is it. A Western envelope with the crest of the gold eagle. When she took it out of the bag, she realized there was a heavy, vaguely cylindrical object inside. You got me. Damn. That's the key. Alright. I guess this is the case of where the image... I guess it's the case of where the image deceives you. And you have to guess that it's going to be a different shape, which is fair. Because, you know, she says she got given a letter, so I assume it's flat piece of paper. And not, like, a key in it. But then again, the key could be really thin. Like, ignoring the description of a heavy cylindrical object inside of a letter, let's just assume that it's like a flat key, okay? Like your regular ass key for your house that's pretty flat. You could probably fit that in an envelope and no one would notice it if they handed it to someone, right? Yeah, there's only one image of a letter in this game, just like there's only one image of a chessboard. Exactly. Exactly. And the images are slightly off and they reuse the same assets all the time for different places. It's fine. But like, for this image, let's change the description. I think he could have done this. Instead of saying heavy cylindrical object, just go with a regular ass key, okay? Your normal house keys, like, you know what? Oh shit, I didn't have my keys on there. Okay, well. My normal ass keys, if you were to take most of them off the fucking keyring, you could probably put almost every single one of those in an envelope, and if I handed that envelope to someone, anyone watching would not notice there's a key in there. Like they're regular ass keys, right? They'd just think it was an envelope with a letter on it. Like an envelope containing a letter or some shit. Like, who knows? So, it's perfectly reasonable to do this. I just changed the description vaguely. She could tell by its feel and weight. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Mari was still sound asleep, please don't open the letter. I want you to leave the letter closed and wake people up first. Fuck off! Rosa tore open the envelope and the contents spilled out into her palm. It was a key with an old intricate design. Alright, so, Battler's new excuse. He didn't see the letter being opened. It's not real. And we're done. Okay. This whole round's over. This whole round's over. Because Battler's just gonna say, Rosa's lying. It's easy. Anyone can lie. Rosa lied or was mistaken. Like, I already know where his excuses go because he doesn't believe anything he doesn't see with his own eyes, and even things he sees he denies, so that's an easy excuse. I'm kind of annoyed she did this. Like, honestly, I'd probably consider doing this myself. Let's be real. I consider doing this myself. Maybe wake someone up. Maybe do this instead. I don't know why she ran right to Rosa's letter. I'm surprised she didn't open her own fucking letter, but you know, whatever. Just open Maria's letter. Rosa, that seems fine. There we go. A key with an old intricate design. Rosa gripped the key and dashed out. Battler seemed to have noticed that sound, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again. See, now there's not only no witnesses, so in order for proving this, we can now never rely on anyone, because right now, the answer when Battler and everyone else wake up is like, oh, you got it from Maria's letter, you say. I didn't see that. How did you know it was in Maria's letter? Did you put it there yourself? Were you the killer? And she's like, no, it was sealed previously. And you're like, all I see is an open letter. For all we know, you stole the actual contents, or there wasn't a key in there. And that it was in your room the whole time. I mean, if we're doing a murder mystery, that's what I'd say, right? How did she know it was in there? First. Second, Like, why didn't she check her own envelope in the first place? Like, what the fuck? Anyway. Because she was supposed to look at it already. But, like, how'd she know the letter was there? And now everyone's gonna suspect her because A, she knew the key was there, and B, no one saw her open the letter, so they can just say, like, oh, you had it in your room the whole time. Like, it wasn't in there. It wasn't in there. You stole your own daughter's stuff given to her by someone else, just to prove that you're innocent, right? Like, think of it this way. Like, you wake up and you're like, oh, my mom broke into my bag and like, tore open a letter and stole some of my stuff from my handbag. And it's like, and she's like, oh yeah, that's where it was. Maria did that. Like, what? Now, I think the clue is how she knew it was there. I think the clue, or at least in her mind, the clue was the fact that it was Happy Halloween to Maria. And that was what the witch told her. So she's like, the key must be in there. Which is a weird assumption because she's like, how did the witch do this? But I think Rosa believes the witch is magical. So she would be willing to believe this. That's kind of fine. I think I'm actually okay with Rosa knowing that the key was in that envelope. I'm not super happy she dashed there and I'm not super happy she did that, or didn't explain her rationale, or didn't bring anyone else with her. Because now it's only her word versus literally everyone else's who says it's impossible, which is literally the worst way to prove anything. But I can kind of see how she came to the conclusion that Amaria's envelope had this. Like, I can kind of see how she came to the conclusion. The direct reference to Maria on the thing gives her a hint that Maria's associated with this somehow. Maria can't draw the symbols, but Beatrice can. So she goes, ah, okay, must be something related to Maria. Kind of dig that one. It works. It works. It's not immediately evident, but I think it works. Kenji? Could this be the key to the chapel? Where did you... This is the key to the chapel. And now the problem is that nobody has any reason to believe the witch used anything other than physical means to close the door. Good job. You destroyed your own evidence. Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. At best, Maria can vouch for you, and Maria is literally the worst person on the planet to vouch for you because nobody fucking believes her. There was a strong resistance, and after it resisted a short while, it stopped resisting with a clunk. And then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. Is anyone there? Her voice reverberated through the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. Seeing what there was. The chapel had a high ceiling, the air was cold, and even on this rainy, unsettling day, it felt sacred for some reason. The servants timidly followed after Rosa. Rosa, look at that. Rosa noticed, or Canon noticed immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar, and there's 6 chairs at the table. It looks like there's 6 chairs at the table, at least 5. In the place that would normally have a pastor preaching of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first it looked like a dining table. There were actually gorgeous plates and utensils placed there, making it look like a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins, black and orange ribbons. There were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Ava, and her husband, Rudolph, and his wife. But if you wanted to be sure, you'd have to go even closer to check. Because they seemed almost like dolls, Rosa and the rest had opened the door and entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps and called out, asking if anyone was there, and yet there'd been no reaction. Even if Rosa and the rest assumed they were being ignored, you'd still expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't even been that. Also, I'd like to say fuck Rosa for stealing from her own daughter. Just like I know that there's like literally a murder, but fuck Rosa for stealing from her own daughter. Like, that's a shitty parenting move. Shitty parenting move. It's like, oh, someone wrote my daughter a letter. I'm gonna go steal that letter. I'm gonna rip open that letter and read it myself. Like, fuck you. That is not Mother of the Year material. But anyway, it's like, oh, I got given a letter in exchange for some candy. Congratulations. And she's like, I'm gonna go read this. Fuck you. At first, I felt like someone set down some dolls that greatly resembled those people. I think it would have been cooler if Maria found this, but hey, you know what it is what it is. I think that was the intention, but it obviously isn't what happened, because Rosa is kind of, like, iffy. By now, it wasn't just Rosa, Shannon, Cannon, and even Goda. They all were fighting frantically with the creepy emotion that grasped their hearts. Nissan! Yeah, make some good cars, Rosa. Nissan? I don't know that company. As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. By now, Rosa was sure of it. She was sure these weren't dolls, but people, the people themselves. You think it would have been cooler for the 9-year-old found a murder scene? Dude, have you seen Maria's reaction to the murder scenes and people dying in the previous arc? She's like, sounds fucking cool. She's like, all right, mom's dead? You say she was brutally murdered? Yeah, okay. Oh, like 3 people died around me? All right. That's what it is. Like 3 people were brutally murdered in the same room as her, and she was just like, that's fine. It'd be awful parenting to let your child in there. True. It's still awful parenting for her to steal stuff from her kid. Especially because, I guess if she doesn't believe in well, I guess she believes in magic, so the rest of it doesn't work, but it's still rude. I just think it would have been cooler. I think it would have been cooler because I don't think they're... I think it would have been cooler personally because I want Maria to go up and eat the candy from the table knowing that it's a gift for her. That's what I wanted to have happen. And judging by the previous ways the story has gone, there's 0% chance that she's going to get any of the fucking candy. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see I want to see Maria be like, oh, and like, I want to see Maria get in here and just be like more interested in the candy than the corpses and just like ignore the corpses and say thanks, Beatrice. I think that would be funny. Because it would just be like so unbelievably morbid and tone deaf, but it would totally fit with Maria, right? She's like, oh, candy, thanks, Beatrice, and leaves. And it's like, dude, there's 6 corpses. She's like, yeah, thanks, Beatrice, bye. Like, it'd be so good. But they're going to be like, no, you can't come in here. You're not allowed. And like, police and some shit. Like, you know how it's going to go because, you know, we know the responses about all the deaths from the previous arcs. Or from the previous arc, we know how the responses to the deaths are going to be. And, so we know they're not going to be okay with, she's not going to let anyone else in there. Yeah, a piece of candy. Like, right? That would be so good. But she's not going to see shit, because not only is she not awake, she doesn't know that they're in the chapel, and, no one else is coming out, so they're just going to be like, oh, we're going to seal this place, we're never going to go there again, we're going to say they're dead, and they're in the chapel, we locked it, and there's a permanent seal on it, because no one can get in without breaking a window, so. I'm a bit disappointed that nobody's going to be like, ooh, candy. Because that's kind of the scene I wanted to see. The minute the candy was described, I was like, oh no, this was for Maria. I wanted to see Maria get the candy. And she's not getting any. This is, yeah. They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled with sweets, cute pitchers with drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments. They were all decorated in a Halloween style, and while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking, Maria surely would have been delighted to see all of this. I know! It's so mean! I hate you, Rosa! That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep, and it was an eerie scene, as though a small fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. They're all sleeping? When she approached even closer to them, she realized there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, soda, chocolates, all with heavily fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across a carpet covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. It's getting better. It's getting better. Blackberry and cranberry jam. And Goda's the first to see it. He realizes what a mess it is. Well, that's going to be a traumatizing experience for this proud guy, knowing that 6 people died under his watch. But hey, it's magic. It is what it is. And I'd love to keep going, but I think this is an appropriate part to stop.